music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs it close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood. I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last.
There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires? There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. Sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
You gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do, it's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to round 13 of the Grand Prix World Series. We are racing today here in Estoril in Portugal. My name is Topher Smith. Alongside me, as always, Tom Cairns. Tom, welcome to Portugal. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race today, and it is crunch time in the championship as well.
It most certainly is, and beginning with lead 2, Leighton House could mathematically clinch promotion today with 3 rounds to spare. They need to outscore 4th place LaRousse, as far as I know. I think it's something like 35 points, but we'll find out as the race goes on.
Well, with a requirement like that, that would take a double DNF on LaRousse's part. Stranger things have happened in the Grand Prix World Series, however, so you never know how it could go. And as Tom said, we are going up into League 2 today. A couple of driver changes to take you through before we get down to trackside. The first of those is at Force India. Jack Aitken has served his race ban that he picked up in Magny-Cours and is back into the Force India in place of Alex Zanardi, who subbed for the Brit at the last round. And Zanardi didn't do the worst job in the world, but he wasn't really anywhere near troubling the points. I think Ed Spencer will be happy to have Jack Aitken back in the car, hopefully driving a bit more sensibly this time around. And one more to bring you today, and that is at Fond Metal. Ewan Gale has taken a decision to drop Giorgio Pantano from the lineup, having brought him in mid-season. He hasn't really done enough to impress Ewan Gale across the course of his few races, and he's brought in Esteban Gutierrez into the fold instead. And Tom, I rate this driver change quite a lot actually, because Pantano, he's not a slow driver, but he wasn't really getting a lot out of the car. However, Gutierrez, a lot younger, arguably a lot quicker as well. This is a good move from Ewan Gale, I think.
Yep, and Gutierrez, in a really dogged Metal that's been off the pace this season, has an opportunity to shine on his debut in the Grand Prix World Series.
So before we get down to trackside, let's have a quick look at the Drivers' Championship. Will Power in the lead on 113 points. He's 13 ahead of Marino Sato in the life. And Adrian Sutil today is in 3rd position, a further 3 points away from Sato. Lopez lingering there in 4th position. Consistency ruling for the Eurobrun. No wins yet this season, but a lot of podium finishes, and Lopez very much in contention for the championship this season. Castro Neves and Fuoco both on 89 points. However, Fuoco now on 90 points, having taken pole position for today's race. And then also in the top 10, Alexander Rossi, Will Stevens, Callum Ilott and Alex Lynn. And Tom, this one is getting very tasty at the top. Still got quite a few drivers who are in mathematical contention and realistic contention for this title. But at the end of the day in League 2, it's all about promotion up to League 1.
It most certainly is, and Will Power wants to make sure that Leighton House do get promotion. It doesn't have to be today, but if they can get it here today, that would be brilliant. I've worked out my maths. All Leighton House need to do is to outscore LaRousse by at least 30 points which would be enough to take the title. There's a maximum of 45 on the table, but with Antonio Froco taking the pole already for life, it's 44. That is the maximum for the rest of this race, really. So Leightonhouse arguably are looking for ideally a 1-2 finish, and for the Ruiz cars, who have not been very quick, to be honest with you, in recent races. You know, anything can happen, really.
I was actually talking to Will Knight, the team principal of the LaRousse team, earlier today, and he was very happy with how the team started the season. They got their 1-2 finish in Taupo with Callum Eilert leading Alexander Rossi home, but is really mystified as to where his pace has gone since then. He attributes it down to the fact that he put some money into reliability earlier on in the season, but then since has been playing catch up on pace and hasn't really found the same level of speed as he had at the start of the season. So LaRousse may be going to miss out on promotion this season, but a strong end to the season could change all of that. In the team standings, this is how it stands. Leightonhouse 249 points and looking very set to get promotion into League One come season's end. Life on 201, they're looking quite comfortable as well. And we've got HRT on 175 and LaRousse on 143, a difference of 32 points between third and fourth. But Tom, all it could take is one Grand Prix to change everything.
Absolutely. There's Leightonhouse and there's Life. I mean, Life look very good as well. HRT have been strong in recent races. And I have to say, Eurobahn have impressed me with Jose Maria Lopez behind the wheel. I mean, he's been one of the drivers of the season, hence why Eurobahn are up there. I mean, they've still got a slight chance, but they really do need to get both cars up there towards the front of the field if they were to close in on the top three. But anything is possible.
It's looking not too likely to get promotion for the likes of Modena, Pacific, Coloni, Zaxpeed and Force India, all in the top 10, but not really troubling that top three. So it looks like it is a 5-way scrap to get promotion up to League One in Season 3 with only 4 rounds left to go. It is absolute crunch time in the championship. And how is today's race going to go? Well, we'll start off with the grid, and it is Antonio Fuoco on pole position for the Life team ahead of the Leightonhouse of Helio Castroneves. Willpower in third, wanting to bring home a good result for Leightonhouse so they can secure promotion. If not today, maybe at the next round. Alex Lynn in fourth place at the back of row 2. Row 3, Marino Sato and Jose Maria Lopez, a very strong driver pairing there between those two. Either of them have a real chance of a podium today. Adrian Sutil in fourth, ahead of Marcus Fingerhocker. Great qualifying from the German there in the second Europe run. Row 5, Brendan Hartley and Alan McNish. McNish having a very strong season, but suffering from reliability. That Colonia needs a little bit more oomph to it, and can McNish get a good result today? Will Stevens and Callum Eilert, the two Brits, on row 6, ahead of Sergio Sette Camara and Jamie Green, who's been given a second chance by the Zaxpeed team today, still substituting for Lucas Grassi, who is out because of a huge crash in Magny-Cours. Alexander Rossi and the returning Jack Aitken are on row 8, ahead of Christian Lundgaard and Sergei Sorokin, the Coloni and the Force India together. They're on row 9. Row 10 is Scott Speed, ahead of Jerome D'Ambrosio and the lead Andrea Moda. 21st position, Sam Bird alongside Esteban Gutierrez making his debut today for Fonmetal, out-qualifying his teammate. Mike Conway at the head of row 12, ahead of Valentino Rossi in 24th, and 25th and 26th at the back of the grid, Oliver Turvey in the Real and Gaston Mazzacane in the Fonmetal. And looking at the difference between first and second there, Tom, 0.006 between Fuoco and Castroneves. Could that close difference also translate into the race today?
Possibly. I mean, the cars look wider on the grid than we've seen in the Grand Prix World Series in Season 1 here, so I expect to see a lot more overtaking here than we've seen in Season 1. Who will come away with the spoils here in Estoril?
53 laps on the boards here today. Fuoco's on pole on the right. Castroneves is on the left, head of Power and Lynn. And we are off and away in Estoril. It looks like it's a really good start from Helio Castroneves, going straight into the lead there. Past Antonio Fuoco, who bogged down a little bit off the start there. Alex Lynn also looking menacing in third, maybe looking to get down the inside here. And he does indeed get past Antonio Fuoco into second place. So a really poor start there from Antonio Fuoco. Castroneves straight into the lead and already building up a gap to the chasing pack behind him. Alex Lynn holding off Antonio Fuoco now in second. Alan McNish looking to try a double overtake there, but instead makes it one past Hartley. And a bit of a collision there. Brendan Hartley being hit up the back by one of the LaRousse cars. That is Callum Eilert, who's hit up the back. And Hartley's now going to have to pit for repairs. Riding on board with Hartley now. Tom, what's happened here?
Right, so Harley's just been overtaken by McNish going into turn 3, and it looks like the ruse of Isla, he got a bit too close. There was actually initial contact to begin with, and the second contact was heavier, and that was enough to cost Brendan Hartley a rear wing in that, and yeah, that'll be him coming in for an early stop, I'm afraid.
Looking on board with Callum Isla now, getting a little bit too hot into the corner there, almost climbing up the back of Hartley's Pacific then, causing some damage to the rear wing, which has now completely separated itself from the back of that car. Hartley will now drop down the order and drop into the pit lane for repairs. That is effectively an end to his race here today. Carter McColeman will not be at all happy with that. Meanwhile, Elio Castroneves out in front, 1.1 seconds in the lead already over Antonio Fuoco, who has got back past Alex Lynn again. We did not see that on the camera as we were looking at that collision between Callum Ilott and Brendan Hartley, but Fuoco back into P2 and now chasing off after the Leighton House.
Castroneves bridging out a gap already over Antonio Fuoco. Lynn third, Will Power in 4th place, and it's Marina Sarto in 5th position. I just want to see where the cars had started, because I think Will Power dropped a position at the start, didn't he? Because he was 3rd on the grid and he's down in 4th, so he's got a bit of work to do. And Winkelhock doing a fine job in the Eurobahn, who's maintained his position in 8th place behind his teammate.
So, the end of the first lap, Elio Castroneves leads ahead of Antonio Fuoco. Alex Lynn in 3rd, moving up from 4th place, which is now occupied by Will Power in the Leighton House. Marino Sarto 5th ahead of Adrian Sissel, those two fighting for the championship this season. Jose Maria Lopez and Marcus Winkelhock, the 2 Eurobrands, looking for a strong double points finish today in 7th and 8th. And Alan McNish in 9th there, he is, and Callum Ilott right behind him in 10th, but I wonder if the stewards will be looking at that incident between himself and Brendan Hartley. And Tom, my reading on that is that it was simply a lap 1 incident. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll probably go with that. Although if there was anyone to blame for it, it's going to be Ilott, so I'll leave that for the stewards to deal with.
We have had incidents in the past. I remember one between Jeff Gordon and Kazuki Nakajima back in Chennai, I think it was, where Nakajima punted off Jeff Gordon into the gravel on the first lap, ended up with a back of the grid penalty. So maybe a similar sort of penalty coming Ilott's way this time around. We will see what they say later on in the race. Meanwhile, we ride on board with Alex Lynn looking back at Will Power behind him. Power looking very menacing behind the HRT there. He'll want to get himself back into a podium position here today, but there's still a long way to go, Tom. It's only lap 2 out of 53. Power does not need to push the limits too much just yet. He's got a long race ahead of him.
He does, and we're riding on board here with Lynn, who's about to be overtaken by the 2nd Leighton House of Will Power as they go down into turn 1.
As Antonio Fuoco has a look for the lead here, Castroneves holds on around the outside while Will Power gets through into 3rd place past Alex Lynn. We've got one Leighton House attacking and one Leighton House defending as well. There is a defender, Castroneves, with Fuoco all over his gearbox at the moment. Fuoco starting a pole and will want to get back into 1st place as soon as he can so he can build up a lead before the first round of pit stops. And behind them, Will Power getting back past Alex Lynn for P3 is Mike Conway's in the pit, so is he coming to grief somewhere? We haven't seen that on the camera. They're pitting this early, Tom. That's not a scheduled pit stop, surely.
No, I want to see this overtake at Topher, because Fuoco's back on the inside of Castroneves for the lead.
And Antonio Fuoco retakes 1st position, started from pole and lost out in the initial start, having bogged down off the line. He's now back through into lead, Castroneves into 2nd. Leighton House, they don't really need to push it too hard today. They look set for promotion at some point in the season. They don't need to do it today. They'll want to make sure both of their cars get to the end and pick up as many points as possible. But Antonio Fuoco putting in the overtake and taking the opportunity to get past Castroneves, and it's a live car in the lead ahead of 2 Leighton Houses and then a HRT in 4th. It's getting very spicy. So Jimmy Green runs wide, and has he got damage? It looks like he has some carbon flying off there. And Jimmy Green indeed, and that's one of the Moderners. Is that Scott Speed going wide? It is, and he's gone for a spin. Oh, that is very close to being the American being collected there. So look at the replay again. Here is Jimmy Green. It looks like he's just got wide there, going through the penultimate corner of the track. And Scott Speed getting on the marbles, going around him onto the grass, and goes for the inevitable spin, and all very nearly collected by, I think that was Jerome D'Ambrosio in the Andrea Moda, going straight past the American there. Scott Speed will not be at all happy with that. Oh my goodness, very close to being collected there by one of the Fun Metals, who I think might have been Esteban Gutierrez. That wouldn't have been a good way to start off his debut race. Meanwhile, Jamie Green into the pits with damage.
Yeah, it was very lucky there, Speed. I mean, the debris just flew in his face as well when Jamie Green had rejoined the circuit. Now a speed who's not had a good second half of the season. He's fighting for a future in the World Series the way he's performing in the Modena.
The driver market for next season's getting very spicy as Sergio Sette cameras down the inside of Jack Aitken for P12. So one of the Pacific cars coming to grief earlier on after being hit up the back by the LaRousse of Callum Eilert, and the other one trying to make amends by getting himself in position closer to the top 10. Sergio Sette camera into 12th place past Aitken. Here is your race leader, Antonio Fuoco. Now, as I was about to say, Tom, the driver market for next season becoming a bit of a hot topic of discussion at the moment amongst our team principals, as they will be allowed to retain as many drivers as they wish out of their original 3, their 2 race drivers and the reserve driver, but then after they've made their decision on retention for their drivers, all of the other drivers who are then available become free agents, and it becomes a first come, first served basis. It's going to get very spicy for the drivers there, and there might be a lot of movement within the driver market for season 3.
Yeah, we just saw Lopez trying to make a move on Sutil as well, and going back to you saying about the driver market, it's very much, well, anyone's game really in terms of who gets what for next season, and I would expect a lot of the reserve drivers in teams right now will be thinking about could any of the League 3 teams be interested in them.
Well,
maybe League 2 as well.
Don't see any reason why not. We've got some very competitive drivers here today, and some that could become free agents at the end of the season. Looking at what's happening on track at the moment though, Tom, the 2 Leighton houses getting very close. Fuoco has built up a gap of 1.5 seconds, and Power now getting up to the back of Helio Castroneves. Team orders maybe between these 2?
Possibly. Power clearly the faster of the 2, and is he going to be stuck in that turbulent air of the teammate of his as Antonio Fuoco continues to pull off away from these guys, and just looking to see how close Power is behind Castroneves as they exit that long Senna curve, as it's named, and he should get on the inside here, Will Power, but he's not close enough to get into the slipstream to help him alongside, and so he stays in 3rd place. We can see Jose Maria Lopez, is he on the inside of Sutil this time? The answer is no, he's not quite close enough there. I think he's lacking some straight line speed in that Eurobro.
This is a battle that could prove very crucial within the Drivers' Championship for League 2. Adrian Sutil and Lopez, both contenders and both very heavy hitting contenders. Lopez not picking up a win yet this season, but he has picked up, I think, 5 podiums across the course of season 2 so far. And Adrian Sutil in front of him 2 wins this season and leads the championship. So this could be very crucial when we come to the final race of the season in Laguna Seca, because as we know, positions mean points and points mean prizes. So Lopez, he has designs on the title this year. Can he get the job done past Sutil? He's looking at the back of 6th place at the moment. We'll keep an eye to see how that battle goes on. And look at this battle here. Will Power all over the back of Helio Castroneves at the moment. Castroneves not as much in the title fight as Will Power is. Power's there or thereabouts. And is this Rossi going slowly or just going wide there? The LaRousse took a very unorthodox racing line through there, and I wonder if he might have a problem in that car. We've cut away from him now to Helio Castroneves, who has Will Power in close company behind him. Antonio Fuoco continuing to build up the gap at the moment. Is now 2.7 seconds. Fuoco looking very comfortable at the moment ahead of Castroneves and Power. Alex Lynn falling behind off this battle now. He had a very strong start earlier on in the race, and now falling away on race pace as these 2 stretch their legs a bit. And here is Sam Bird trying to get past one of the Force Indias. I think that might have been Sergei Sorokin. He was trying to get past there. We're not seeing it on the graphic as they are outside of the top 15, but to me it looked like Sam Bird was set to move up a position to P17 there. Riding on board now with Alex Lynn. Well, we were running on board with Alex Lynn. We're now looking at our race leader, Antonio Fuoco. Andrew Sampson will be very happy with how his Italian driver is performing this season. He's picked up a race win or 2 so far in his maiden campaign in the Grand Prix World Series, and his teammate Marino Sato running in 5th place. So Andrew Sampson, much the same as Chris Cavaney, the team boss of Leighton House, I think feeling very comfortable about promotion up to League 1 for next season, Tom.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how Leighton House do in League 1 should they get there. They do have do seem to have the package underneath them with the, I think they're using Judd engines as well, aren't they?
Leighton House is using Judd engines this season, yes. So the only team within the Grand Prix World Series to go for the Judd engines, actually, and so far proving to be a little bit of a masterstroke, actually. Chris Cavani and the team working very well with our power units, get some good speed out of the car, and it's paying off with Leighton House leading the championship at the moment and looking set for promotion into League One. Now, here is Sergei Sorokin in the Force India. He's got Sam Bird right behind him, so it looked like he was able to hold off Bird earlier. Is he going to be able to hold him off this time? Going across the start finish line here. I believe this is for P17 and P18. Sam Bird on the inside of the Force India. Is he going to get the job done? No, Sorokin holds on.
I was got in front of Topher.
Sorry?
I was got in front of Castroneves.
Willpower ahead of Io Castroneves. I was looking at the battle between Sam Bird and Sergei Sorokin, and Castroneves actually down to 4, so does Castroneves have a problem? So he's now dropped behind Alex Lynn as well. We haven't seen him yet on the screen, but Castroneves looks like he might have maybe had a mistake. No, he's back down past Marino Sato now, so Castroneves must have a problem of some sort. Is that going to be an early retirement for the Brazilian? We hope not, but dropping down that quickly, you would imagine there is some sort of mechanical issue with that car. We've yet to pick him up on the TV camera, so we don't know for sure what is going on with the Brazilian. We're riding on board with Fuoco, our race leader at the moment, and Castroneves not yet fallen behind Sutil, so maybe Castroneves has just had an off somewhere that made him drop down a few places.
Well, he hasn't pulled off the circuit yet, so it could be like an early problem for Castroneves. He's fallen behind Sutil now, so is that him going into the pit lane or is that him pulling off?
He's into the pits now, so maybe a mechanical issue that the team will have to press Control Alt Delete on. All the two Eurogrunts getting very close there. Winkelhock trying to get past Jose Maria Lopez. Now, our team order is going to come into effect within the Eurogrunt camp because Jose Maria Lopez is a championship contender this season, whereas Marcus Winkelhock is not. So Winkelhock really shouldn't have any business challenging Lopez for that position unless Winkelhock just genuinely thinks that he is faster and maybe thinks he can get up after Adrian Sutil and get some more points for the team.
So Lynn goes up to 3rd place, then Sato for Sutil 5th, and Castroneves is still in the race, albeit outside the top 15 now. I don't know if the Leighton House squad refueled the car, or whether they're just going on a different strategy to what they had at first.
And Alex Lynn, a beneficiary of Castroneves coming into the pits, he's now in P3. Now, Alex Lynn was an absolute masterstroke of a call by John Monroe to bring into the team. He came in place of Dario Franchitti, who, to be fair, was having a fairly strong season. He was getting a lot better. But John Monroe decided it was time to drop him and bring in Alex Lynn in his place after the young driver test at Istanbul. And Alex Lynn then goes and gets pole and victory in Manny Court, today running 3rd as well. Can you imagine what HRT's points title might be, Tom, if Alex Lynn had been putting in those performances from the start of the season if he'd been in the car?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think Alexander Rossi's got an issue here, Topher. He's slowing.
He is slowing indeed. Alexander Rossi falling over to the side of the circuit. It's a gearbox issue for the LaRousse Will Knight. He already said he's not particularly happy with his second half of the season. Well, that will not help his happiness any further. Alexander Rossi becoming our first retirement of the League 2 Estoril Grand Prix on lap 10. The gearbox packs in on the LaRousse. He's pulled up to the side of the circuit. And a race winner earlier on the season, now a retiree in Estoril.
So really body blow. It's good news for Leighton House because with Callum Ilott only left in the race, they've got a good chance of getting promotion. As it stands, with Willpower in 2nd and Castroneves outside the point, they would not get promotion today.
Well, there's still plenty of time. We've got 3 races left to go after this one. It can still happen for the Leighton House team. A long way to go. Yeah, still plenty of action to come your way in the Grand Prix World Series. And looking at the YouTube live chats here today, hello to everyone who is watching along. Chris Cavani, hello to you. Andrew Sampson, hello. Mississippi24, hello, one of our regular viewers in the Grand Prix World Series. Stating that Charles Leclerc is better than Michael Schumacher because Leclerc has 2 wins, whereas Michael Schumacher has 0. I don't quite think that's correct. You're probably thinking of Mick Schumacher. Michael Schumacher, the senior, has 91 race wins, so I don't think there's really much argument there over who is better. But anyway, going back to what is happening on track at the moment, we are on lap 11 out of 53 as Jerome D'Ambrosio coming under attack from Sam Bird, who has now got past Sergei Sorokin and now looking to get past the Andrea Moda as well. The 2 rivals within Formula E recently, and D'Ambrosio holds on around the outside. We're finding, Tom, you can find multiple lines around that first corner. The driver who's down on the inside, not necessarily getting track position because there's grip on the outside.
Yeah, so he's put on the fresher tyres as well, to mention, so don't forget that. So Castroneves he needs to just pick this up one by one as soon as he can, really, to get his Leighton House back into the points. I'd be interested to know what his pace difference is like in comparison to the leaders now he's on the fresher rubber.
And here is Ilya Castroneves down in 21st position behind the Real of Oliver Turvey, or now past Turvey. He's now got Valentino Rossi up ahead of him. Castroneves will not want to waste any time getting through the order, as he'll look to get back within the top 10 and pick up some points for Leighton House. Now dispatching Rossi, the power of that Leighton House very evident against the back markers here in this league, wasting no time getting past Turvey and past Rossi. So Castroneves moving up through the order, but would really be happy with being that far down after a problem earlier on. Now here's Jerome D'Ambrosio once again under attack from Sam Bird. Are we going to stay with this battle here down as turn 1 and see if Bird can make the move stick? Bird in the Zach speed already out of the slipstream of the Andrea Moda. Is he going to get the move done in turn 1 this time? No, he doesn't have the legs on the straight. And Jerome D'Ambrosio holds on to P14 at the moment. D'Ambrosio putting in a good performance here in the Andrea Moda, which is one of the slowest cars on the grid. And D'Ambrosio running in P14, a great job from the Belgian so far. As Sam Bird looking very menacing. It might only be a few laps before the Englishman finally makes a move stick and then gets after Christian Lunga on P13. Oh, not always is a problem for Gutierrez, Tom.
Yes, it is. Yeah, he's got a gearbox issue.
So Esteban Gutierrez in orbit, damage there as he rides over the grass in his Formitel. His debut in the Grand Prix World Series lasts 12 laps for Esteban Gutierrez. Ewan Gale brought him in hoping to get some better fortunes and evaluate him ahead of Season 3, but as I've said, his debut only lasting 12 laps. Gutierrez already out of the race.
So back to the drawing board for Gutierrez and for Ewan Gale and his team. Mazzucane outside the top 20, I believe. And yeah, it just tells you everything about their season. If we look at Antonio Fruco, 6 seconds the gap now. So could he be on a 2-stop strategy here, Topher?
It's quite possible. He's got a lot of speed behind him at the moment, and he's using it to good effect. 6.2 seconds the difference now between Fuoco and Power. We haven't yet seen what the fuel strategies are going to be. On lap 13 out of 53, I reckon we might start to see the 2-stoppers coming in fairly soon. As Sam Bird once again having a look at Jerome D'Ambrosio, not able to get the move done. D'Ambrosio is defending beautifully here at the moment. If we have a bit of attrition later on, this could be a battle for the final few points paying positions. So we will keep an eager eye on that one. That looks to be a tremendous battle brewing between those two. Alex Lynn there in P3 has got himself a nice gap to Marino Sarto behind him. It's 2.6 between those two at the moment, and Lynn looking good for a podium as it stands, but only a quarter of the way through this race, still a long way to go. Oh, Will Powers had a bit of a moment there, getting him massively locked up into the penultimate corner there. So hopefully no issue there for the Leighton House as he gets it all wrong coming out of the S's. He looks to be fine now, Tom. Maybe just a little bit of a driving error from Will Power.
Yeah, Will Power just locking up.
Oh, what's going on in the background? Sorry, Tom. Looks like there's an issue from Reno Sarto. He's had a crash there. It looks like he has the front right tyre has come off. Now, what has happened to a Japanese driver here? And, oh, it looks like he got wide onto the curb and it's thrown him into the inside wall. So, completely unforced error there from Marino Sarto. That is not going to do his championship aspirations any good whatsoever. And, yeah, just a simple drive error, Tom, and it's cost him quite dearly here.
I was just going to say, did the curb cost him that? Because he did lose a wheel in that, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering that threw him into the barrier when he lost that wheel. So yeah, very unfortunate incident. He must have run over the curves more heavily than normal, and yeah, pitched him into the barrier and out of the race.
Well, he's out of the car and he's perfectly fine. The only thing hurt is his pride and potentially his championship challenge as well. There's going to be 0 points today for Marino Sarto. A heavy crash, but he's perfectly fine. Marcus Fingelhock we saw in the background coming into the pits. He's the first of the scheduled pit stoppers to come in, as that is Brendan Hartley getting through past. I think that was one of the Zach speeds, probably Jamie Green who's getting past there. But Brendan Hartley putting that earlier collision with Callum Ilot's behind him and getting on with his race now. And D'Ambrosio and Bert still having their battle. And Bert's looking down the inside here. He's going to make the move stick. Yes, he is. And Julio Castroneves joining in on this battle as well. So maybe the Leighton House getting up to the back of them was a bit of a hurry up for Sam Bird to get the move done, and he's done just that. Up into 12th position ahead of D'Ambrosio, who now has the attentions of Castroneves right behind him. I don't think it will take as long for Casheneves to get past the Belgian here today. The Leighton House supremely more powerful than the Andrea Moda this season, so probably just waiting for the final straight to get the move done here. Hopefully going to stay with the Brazilian and the Belgian here throughout the final corner to see if Casheneves does get the move done. Getting the traction down around the final corner here, and Casheneves looks like he's getting a beautiful exit out of here. He's got the power down well and already pulling out to the slipstream of the Andrea Moda and powering straight through past Jerome D'Ambrosio. Easy overtake there for Casheneves, and he's up into P13.
So no problem there for Casheneves. He just needs to get onto the back of the next man in front. That's his Sandbird. As you can see, Antonio Frego's just last one of the Brials, actually. That'll be Mike Conway, who had pitted at the end of the second lap. There's his team. There's Conway's teammate, Oliver Turvey. I think he was trying to make a move on someone. I couldn't quite tell who it is. He has got the Fond Metal of Gaston Massacane behind. Who's he got in front of him?
Didn't quite catch who that was. I'm having a look through the YouTube live chats again. Chris Cavani, feeling a little bit sorry for Marino Sato there, even though Sato is a rival of Chris Cavani's Leighton House team. Still doesn't like to see his rivals crash out like that. He relishes a challenge, he relishes the battles on track. Sato dropping out to P5 there in a heavy impact. Like I said earlier, the only thing hurt his pride in that instant. Can Sato claw back those points later on in the season? We still have 3 rounds left to go. After this one, Antonio Froico, his teammate, 7.7 seconds in the lead as Ilott and Stevens both into pits at the same time. Tom, we're starting to see the 2 stoppers.
Yes, we are, and just look to see Casheneves, who the next man in front of him is Christian Lundgaard, and so he wants to dispose of him very, very quickly. He does get by Ilott and Stevens, who are still in the pits, or coming out of the pits now.
Sam Bird pulling into the pits as well. He got the move done on Jerome D'Ambrosio. Needed a good in-lap to try and maintain track position, and we cut away to his teammate Jamie Green, who has already been into the pits earlier on in this race after a collision on lap 1. Brendan Hartley there, trying to get past the Real of Oliver Turvey, I think there is, and a Fond Metal there of Gaston Mazzicane, the only remaining Fond Metal in this race after Gutierrez had his gearbox issue earlier on. Mazzicane now upholding Fond Metal on a 4U and Gale, but doing it from P18, so not troubling the points just yet, but we still have a long way to go. We're on lap 17 out of 53. A lot of action can still come our way here in the Grand Prix World Series, and as we've seen multiple times, Tom, it's not over until it's over.
No, it's not. You can see there's a survey down the inside Mazzicane, no problem there, and Brendan Hartley with the next one, I should think, to follow suit. Down the inside he goes, and he also gets through, so Mazzicane going backwards in the Fond Metal by the looks of things. But having said that, Hartley did come in at the end of lap 1 to get a new rear wing and new tyres on, as Alan McNish pits.
Alan McNish into the pits out of P8 there in the Scuderia Coloni. Now, McNish has been a bit of an interesting case this season as Casheneves gets down the inside of Christian Lundgaard there in the other Coloni. McNish, I think it's fair to say, Tom, has definitely been one of the fastest drivers in League 2 of the Grand Prix World Series, but the reliability of the Coloni really letting him down more often than not within this championship. So one wonders where McNish might be in the championship had it been for better reliability for the team.
Yeah, McNish has been one of the surprises of the season, actually. I didn't think he'd be doing as well as he has been, but somehow he's managed to have the car underneath him, and he's putting in some good performances, and I expect him to be in another points position today. You can see Antonio Froico in the sole survivor in life, continuing to lead as Casheneves. Has he got a problem? Yes,
Casheneves is pulling over. It's a puncture for Casheneves. I wonder if that's maybe running over the debris of Marino Sato earlier on, a few laps ago. So Ilya Casheneves, he already was on the back foot, having pitted with a problem earlier on, and now running over some debris to pick up a puncture, and he is out of the race. So Leighton House will not get promotion here today. They can still do it before season's end, but it will not happen today, Tom.
No, and it gives a chance for Live to close in, although there's still one Leighton House left in the race, with Will Power in second, but we know for certain that Casheneves will not be scoring points, so it's a bad dent to his title aspirations as well. I mean, we didn't expect it to be in the championship hunt when he first arrived, but with the results that he's been producing, it's a bad blow for his hopes.
Well, as it stands, coming into this race, Ilya Casheneves had 89 points to his name. He's 24 off the lead of his teammate Will Power, which is still within a race victory. It's not outside the realms of possibility. but a retirement like that will not do his hopes any good at all, especially with only 3 rounds left to go this season after today. So, Passionel is having a bit of a bitter blow to his title aspirations, and maybe now will switch focus to picking up points for Leighton House in their quest to get promotion into League One for Season 3. Oliver Turvey here, getting all over the back of, is that a Modena or his teammate? It's his teammate, Mike Conway, so the Real's doing battle here with Will Power trying to lap them there. Power not at all happy with what's going on here. They're not really under any obligation to get out of the way, but Power in traffic while Antonio Fuego's getting away out front.
Yeah, this is really silly from the Reals, really. And I have to say, Will Power will be absolutely livid with those guys, and it's allowing Fuego to shoot off into the distance, whilst Power's having to suffer behind these guys. I mean, there should be a rule, so there should be a punishment for drivers who just hold the leads up for a considerable amount of time, and they shouldn't be doing so.
Well, he gets through past Oliver Turvey and puts a lap on that Real. He'll want to put a lap on the other Real as soon as possible as well. And in that last sector alone, Power losing 2 seconds to Antonio Fuego. He now gets past Mike Conway and gets through and gets track position. But that was a real hold up there for the Australian. Not at all happy with how that went down. He's gone from 9 seconds behind to 11 seconds behind Antonio Fuego through all that.
I was just going to say, has Sorokin got a problem in the Force India? Because he's just allowed McNish and Sete Cameron to get through. He may not have done, he probably just got offline and got onto the marbles, but it's been another hard race for Sorokin in this one as Fuego pits in for the first time.
Right, so Fuego in at the end of lap 19, so it looks like this is going to be a 2-stop strategy for the life car. He will drop down out of the lead as Power and Lynn carry on. 15 laps of fuel on board, so Fuego is indeed going on to a 2-stop strategy today. What are Will Power and Alex Lynn going to be doing? Will they be in the next couple of laps themselves, or are they trying a 1-stop strategy here today? We will find out over the course of the next few laps. Andrew Sampson, the team boss of the Life team, getting in touch and saying Life F1 can confirm that Marino Sato has been taken from the track to the local hospital for further checks. So Sato got out of the car under his own power, but maybe just feeling a little bit dizzy after that one. So he's been taken for some checks, and hopefully he will be completely fine. I'm sure Andrew Sampson will keep us updated on that one. We wish you all the best, Marino. No one likes to see a big crash like that, and we hope to see you back at the front again at the next race. Meanwhile, Will Power leads ahead of Alex Lynn, but those two have yet to pit. Suttil into third, but has yet to pit. Lopez in fourth, but has yet to pit. Antonio Fuego, our next race leader in P5, and still holding on to an advantage. He's got track position as well. He's 5 seconds behind Jose Maria Lopez and 20 ahead of Marcus Finkelhock. So a good gap there for Fuego to make use of the clear air and get those tyres up to temperature. As Will Power into the pits, he's on a 2-stop strategy as well.
Hands the lead to Alex Lynn. So what is Will Power going on? He must be on the 2-stop as well then.
And Alex Lynn goes through into the lead. So, Will Power, he's going to come out. He will come out behind Fuego. Oh, a little bit wide there for Mazzucati. And he very nearly put his car into the wall there, but he's got away with it. Well held there by the Argentine. As it's now a HRT 1-2 at the front, but this is through the pit stop phase. So if you're just joining us here in the League 2 race, Alex Lynn third in the race, but leading at the moment through the pit stop phase, as Antonio Fuego has come into the pits, as has Will Power. And Sergio Tete Camera following in the wheel tracks there of Alan Manisha. Scott Speed in front of them comes into pits. Is this going to be an overtake from the Brazilian on the Scotsman down the inside, which has proven to be quite a tricky place to overtake actually, but on this occasion it looks like Sergio Tete Camera has got the job done. He moves up into P11.
So the Tete Camera doing a fine job in this race as well in the Pacific. Jerome D'Ambrosio, I don't think has stopped yet in this one. He's in 10th. And Jack Aiken, after his stop, he fell behind Sorokin at first, but he's ahead of him now. So he's got himself up into 13th place. So Force India could be in the realms of scoring points there. As you can see, Brendan Hartley fighting his way back through the field once again. He's up to 18th by passing what looked like the sack speed of Sam Bird, I think.
I think it was Jamie Green. I think I saw a yellow helmet there in the sack speed. So it's a double overtake effectively for the Pacific team. Sergio Tete Camera getting past Alan McNish and Brendan Hartley getting past Jamie Green there. As Antonio Fuego making the most of the clear air to set a new fastest lap. He means business in this race. He wants to pick up another victory this season and get himself right into the thick of the title battle. Looking at the points table, we've got here Fuoco on 89 points coming into this race, 24 off the lead. So victory here today would put him up there, but don't forget with Will Power in second place, he would pick up 18 points of his own. Marino Sato out of this race, so Fuoco would jump past his teammate into second in the championship. On lap 22 out of 53, this race is not done yet. Riding on board with Jerome D'Ambrosio as he surrenders P10 to set a camera. I don't think there's really too much to fight there. D'Ambrosio having not come into pits just yet and also massively underpowered in comparison to the Pacific. So D'Ambrosio maybe just looking to pick up the pieces of attrition later on in this race. Alex Lynn still continuing on in this race. The halfway point will be around about lap 26-27, so if Alex Lynn is waiting until then to come in, that is a one-stop strategy, and maybe trying something different in comparison to Fuoco and Power, as that is Brendan Harley trying to get through there. Camera has a little bit of a lock-up there from P10. He'll just need to calm down and make sure he can get those tyres through till his next pit stop and not push that car too hard. So, lap 23, Alex Lynn leads ahead of Antonio Fuoco, but with Lynn yet to pit. Suttle in third, also yet to pit. It looks like both HRTs might be going on to a one-stop strategy and trying something different. We will see whether that pays dividends later on. Will Power in fifth, but in a net second place in this race. Marcus Finkelhawk up in sixth place at the moment, putting in a very strong drive. He is one of the earlier two stoppers. He was one of the first to come in, and at the moment up into P6. Very strong drive so far from the German. Could this be a double points finish for Eurobrun later on? As Callum Eilert is through past Christian Lundgaard into P7, P9 is Will Stevens, and Sergio Sette Camera in the final points play position P10. Now this battle here going on, Tom, this could get quite exciting, between Adrian Suttle and Jose Maria Lopez, currently third and fourth in the championship coming into this race. This is so crucial between those two.
Yeah, this is crucial for the championship as well, and considering that Marino Sato and Helio Castroneves, these guys want to take advantage to make sure they can get some good points out of this. Both of them could move up to the top three with Sato already out.
So when are Alex Lynn and Adrian Suttle going to come into pits? I believe they will now be going on to a one-stop strategy. If it was a two-stopper, they should have already come in by now, unless they're running their cars very light before their first stint. Adrian Suttle with Lopez Pando and Brendan Harley. Does he have a problem there, or was that just a mistake going through there? It looked like he got very wide, maybe onto the marbles. It looks like he's perfectly fine now, going through the VIP curve. So Brendan Harley, hopefully not an issue there for the Kiwi, but he's continuing on now, so hopefully no harm, no foul there. But I can imagine Tom, he's probably driving a bit angry in the moment, having had Callum Eilert hit him up the rear earlier on.
Yeah, he'll be feeling agitated in that Pacific at the moment. Brendan Harley's just had a really rocky race, as Will Stevens gets one the inside there of Christian Lundgaard, but couldn't quite make the move stick. And now has to sit in behind. How impressive have you been with Will Stevens this season? Because even though with a Modena which hasn't necessarily been that... Oh, and speed's off!
So Scott Speed has got some damage there. What has happened to the American in the Modena? We're riding on board with him now. He's got, I think that might be one of the Pacifics just in front of him, and oh, looks like he's gone wide then. Oh, a lot of damage there as he's gone over the gravel. So the gravel this season has been very unforgiving to any drivers that run across it, and Scott Speed becomes another retirement in this race. Not really that heavy an impact though, Tom, just riding the gravel a bit awkwardly.
Yeah, you know what I was saying about Modena. Will Stevens, how impressive have you been with him this season?
Well, Will Stevens, he started off the season very strongly when he came into the Modena team for Taupo, and actually looked to be a very good contender for the race victory in that race. He spent a lot of time leading before he had a mechanical issue and had to retire out of the race, but since then he's picked up one podium and a good amount of points finishes as Sam Bird is out. So it's a retirement for the Zach Speed there. I think that's a transmission problem on the readout, so that is gearbox for Sam Bird. He is out of this race. That is a shame for Zach Speed and Mike Smith and the team.
Yep, and Sam Bird's season going from bad to worse. He's not having the best times of it, has he? He'll be thinking about his future within the team, and I'm sure there'll be a load of managers wanting his services. He's a better driver than what we have seen from him this year.
He's a driver who has absolute bundles of talent, but just doesn't have the car to make it work at the moment. So I think Mike Smith will be keen to keep him on board though into season 3. We'll wait to see what happens with the driver market come season's end. Now, Tom, we've just had an announcement through from Race Control. Callum Eilert will start the Brno Grand Prix from the back of the grid. That will be for his involvement in the incident involving Brendan Hartley. And thinking about it, I think that might be a bit of a fair assessment, actually, because we had the initial contact between those two going into the corner, but then after that there was a secondary contact, which was what put pay to Brendan Hartley's rear wing. How do you read that one?
Yeah, it was... I said before, it was one of those that I'd put down to the stewards, because I'm a little bit undecisive on that, so I respect what the stewards say.
So not good news for Callum Eilert, who was one of our earlier championship contenders, especially after his win in Taupo earlier on this season, but since then only stood on the podium once. It's not been a great season overall for Callum Eilert, and that will compound his and Will Knight's misery even further this season. Callum Eilert will start Renault in Czech Republic from the back of the grids. Jose Maria Lopez into the pits. Now I reckon this is around about the time, Tom, when we're going to start to see the one-stoppers coming into the pits.
Yeah, McNish on the inside there as the Eurobone comes out of the pits, just avoids them as McNish gets on the inside of Lundgaard.
So swap a position there between the two Colonis as Jose Maria Lopez out in P11 on the one-stop strategy. Now he'll have fresher tyres for now, but they will fall off towards the end of the race, so maybe an advantage at this point, maybe not. We will wait to see what happens later on in the race for Lopez. Can he maybe get a podium out of this race? We still have half of the race distance to go. Now here is your sole remaining Zach Speed, Jamie Green, who was only supposed to substitute for Lucas Di Grassi for one race, Tom, but after he retired very early on last time out, Mike Smith elected to give him a second race to evaluate him, potentially with season 3 in mind. And Green once again coming to grief a bit earlier on in this race, but now getting some laps under his belt and putting in not too bad a performance. He's outside of the top 15 at the moment, but he is still on track, and that's what's important to him at the moment, is track time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at Will Power as he closes in on Adrian Sutil, who hasn't stopped yet. This is crucial for Sutil's race, actually, because if he can keep Power behind, that'll help his chances in going for the podium position. And Froko just lapping the Real of Oliver Turvey. And Adrian Sutil, has he got a problem now, actually? Because he's just... Yeah, I think he's got a problem, actually, Topher, as he sees Will Power getting alongside.
Will Power down the inside into third position there. Not sure if that might be a problem for Sutil, actually. Maybe just old tyres, because I believe that Sutil is also one-stop strategy. Oh, Camera very nearly locking up into the side of Mike Conway there as he puts a lap on him. That won't have been a pretty shade on Sergio Sette Camera there, but he is through. He gets the move done. Another move that has been done is Will Power on Adrian Sutil, who I think is on a one-stop strategy, as well as Alex Lynn. So old tyres at the moment, and not really any surprise that Power got through, as Lopez through past Alan McNish now into P9. Now Lundgaard has come into the pit, so he's dropped out of the top 10. He's also on a one-stop strategy. Lopez on the fresher tyres, not wasting any time getting past the Scotsman of McNish. Next in his sight, Sergio Sette Camera, as Will Power continues with Valentino Rossi coming out of pits in front of him, and that is not for position. Valentino Rossi is a lap down and straight away moves out of the way of Will Power. That's not his battle, and he knows it.
Yeah, it's very wise there from Valentino. He knows who he's racing with and who he's not, and he wisely moved out of the way as McNish trying to do the same with the Real of what looks like Mike Conway's that Oliver Turvey is trying to lap up there. But either way, he's not feeling very, very happy being stuck behind him.
But Alan McNish in 10th position at the moment. He's losing ground to Lopez in front of him with the Real of Mike Conway in between them. But Alex Lynn still not yet coming to the pits. He run very heavy in his first stint. He started this race in 4th place, got a really good start to run as high as P2 earlier on, then a heavier fuel load putting paid his advancements, and he dropped down to P4. Now in the lead at the moment, but how will this strategy fare later on into the race? Because he still holds on to the lead ahead of his pit stop. He'll drop down probably into P4 with the gap that he has at the moment. But can he make those fresher tyres, get himself into a podium position? Here we go, Tom. Alex Lynn into the pits. Now this is crucial for the HRT team. Lynn, I think, will come out in P4, and how will he make those fresh tyres work as he chases the top 3 finish?
Well, he's got to hope he can come out. Oh,
what's going on here? Real going very slowly there.
It's the Cloney. Cloney's off. McNish is out.
Alan McNish, another retirement for the Scotsman. What does he have to do to catch a break? And oh, that's a very unusual instant there. He's been hit up the back by Conway while having a bit of a tank slapper. We didn't really catch the start of the replay there to see what went on with McNish. But that is yet another retirement. That is his, I think, 8th retirement of the season out of 13 races. And very strange one there, Tom. I don't think we can apportion any blame on Mike Conway there, as Alan McNish just simply out of control there.
Yeah, I think McNish must have locked up into, I think what looks like turn 7, and he just got out of shape and Conway just didn't have anywhere to go really, so I would put that down as a racing incident. I
think I'll agree with you there, Tom. It might have been some rear locking for McNish. It was very strange how his car was having a bit of a tank slapper coming out of the corner like that across the curves. So we'll have to investigate that one, but as it stands, that is an 8th retirement of the season for Alan McNish. Now, Tom, I'm looking at McNish's stats here. His finishes this season, when he's finished 3rd, 10th, 6th, and 4th. Every time he's finished a race, he's finished in the points. But he's just not finishing often enough, and that is down to the reliability of the Cloney. So maybe that's something that Gemma Dixon will have to take a look at for season 3.
I should think so too. And Will Power just lapping the Von Mattel of Mazzacane as Antonio Franco continues to lead. He's back out in front now with Will Power in 2nd place, 12 seconds behind him. As he nearly rode the coat there. He almost did what Marino Sarto did earlier in the race. He's got away with it this time as Suttil pits for his only stop.
So Suttil dropping down into at least P5 at the moment. Where is he going to come out in relation to Ilott, Suttil and co? He's going right into the middle of that pack by the looks of it, and he's behind Lopez. So there was a battle between those two earlier on, and Lopez, through pitting earlier, has got the undercut on Suttil. Great job from the Argentine.
Yeah, so that's good news for Eurobrun there. Winkelhock, he must be going on a 1-stop as well. He's running in 4th position. Or has he already made his pit stop, Topher?
He was the first of the 2 stoppers to come in, which has put him in a great position here. The undercut proving to be quite powerful around here. And Winkelhock seemingly undercutting the lot. He's up into 4th position from his earlier pit stop. He will need to come in one more time in this race. But with the track position he's in now, he could quite easily get a top 5 finish out of this. It's a great drive so far. Not just from him, but from the Eurobrun team as a whole, with Lopez on the 1-stop strategy, trying to get down the inside of Sergio Sette. Camera there, but Camera shutting the door firmly shut there on the Argentine. Camera's in a good position to pick up some points here. Jack Aitken's off the track, and how has he not got a front wheel gone from there? It looks like he stopped anyway, so maybe some internal damage to that Force India, but Jack Aitken, quite a heavy hit into the barrier there, and he's out of this race. Tom, talk us through this one. Was it a driver error or was it mechanical?
No, it's a driver error for me. He's just carried too much speed into the corner, and yeah, he's just hit the barrier. That's a shame there for Jack. He was really on course for a good haul of points today, and it's all come to nothing. He's out of the race.
I am absolutely amazed that there is not a wheel or a front wing hanging off that Force India right now. That was a really heavy hit into the barrier. That Force India may be proving to be a bit stronger than most of the cars out there on track. So Jack Aitken becomes another retirement in this race. Antonio Fuoco leads on lap 31 out of 53. Will Power 12.4 seconds behind the Italian in P2. Alex Linton 3rd. Ahead of Marcus Winkelhock putting in a very strong drive here, as is Callum Ilott. It's one of his better performances of the season so far. Will Simmons at P6, head of Sergio Sette Camera. Lopez in 8th, head of Adrian Suttil, and Brendan Harley rounding out the points per positions in 10th. And Tom, look who's in 11th at the moment. Jamie Green. It's come good for him since his instance earlier on.
We wouldn't have expected it, would we? I mean, Jamie Green's finishing the points. Means it's possible now, really, isn't it? Will Power in 2nd place. He's continuing to drop back from Franco, so you have to say he's aiming to finish 2nd unless something happens to Franco up front.
Oh, Brendan Harley having a big lock up there. That's the 2nd time he's done that in this race. I think at the same curve as well. I think that's a VIP cover. So Brendan Harley not really on top of that Pacific at the moment. And looking at the lap times here, Fuoco 0.3 of a second quicker than Will Power on that last lap. So the Italian in the life car extending his lead, but Lynn has trumped the lot of them 0.3 over Fuoco. That will be on fresher tyres though. Alex Lynn trying to get another podium out of this race. There is Will Power running 2nd. Oh, Camera running a bit wide there.
He was lucky there, very lucky.
We've already seen that instance earlier on from Reno Sato, and I'm sure the drivers will know about it, so they don't want to do the same mistake. Here is Jose Maria Lopez down the inside of Sergio Sette Camara. He holds on around the outside. Great defensive drive there from the Brazilian. He keeps hold of P7 with our championship contenders Lopez and Suttel right behind him. This is a lot of pressure for Sergio Sette Camara at the moment, but proving his mettle here and holding on very well. He keeps hold of P7, but for how long is it going to be? There is our list of retirements. Alexander Rossi, Esteban Gutierrez, Marino Sato, Edio Cashaneves. It just cuts away just the wrong moment there. So, Edio Cashaneves as well. Scott Speed, Sam Bird, Alan McNish, and most recently Jack Aitken crashing out of the race, as well as Fuoco is into the pits. Now this seems to be a little bit early for a second stop, I would say, Tom. So has he come in with some sort of problem, maybe?
No, because when he came into the box, he put in only 15 laps of fueling. So this is actually scheduled.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Tom, keeping me on my toes. As always, 15 laps of fuel went on earlier on for Fuoco. He's now in for his second pit stop. We haven't seen what his fuel load yet is, but with around about 20 laps to go here, I imagine that is fueled to the end. Marcus Finkelhock also in for his second pit stop here, driving a very strong race at the moment in the Eurobron. Now Adrian Suttel trying to get past Sergio Sette Camara now, so Suttel's got past Lopez off screen and he's now wasted no time in getting past Sergio Sette Camara up into P6. Suttel means business in his championship. He's chasing that title for League 2. He's got past Lopez and he's got past Sergio Sette Camara in the same lap. Suttel on form at the moment and now chasing after Ilott and Stevens.
So Finkelhock gets out in front of Hartley, so Finkelhock rejoins with some clean air in front of him. So this is a good opportunity for him to close in on his teammate with, he's behind him by at least 13 seconds. So he's on course for a really good result today, is Marcus.
So Will Power in the lead, trying to put a lap on Sergei Sorokin, and he does get through past the Force India. Will Power yet to come in for his second pit stop though. Alex Lynn in second on the one-stop strategy, and will assume the lead of the race when Will Power comes in, but how are his tyres going to fare in comparison to this man here, Antonio Fuoco, who is still in the net lead of this race, 18.6 seconds behind Will Power and only a couple of seconds behind Alex Lynn here. So Fuoco wanting to make the most of his fresh tyres and get through into second position. Can Fuoco get the move done in the next few laps? We have 19 laps left going. Oh, Fuoco's gone off! And that's a huge one for Fuoco. He's under fresh tyres, pushing really hard, and all four wheels off that wagon. That's a huge one for the Italian, who's set to win this race. Looks like he's got a bit wide there, straight into the barrier, takes a trip over the gravel, and that is an end to what was looking to be a dominant race there for Fuoco. That has a huge impact, Tom.
That is really bad news for Live, but more importantly, I hope Antonio Fuoco is okay. He's probably shaken from that. Wow.
Well, all four wheels coming off the life car there, no life left in those tyres. I wonder if Antonio Fuoco might now be paying his buddy a visit in hospital with Marino Sato there for checkups as well. I'm sure Andrew Sampson will keep us updated on that. And tough luck, Andrew Sampson. It's a double DNF. It's a crucial point in the championship. We hope both of your drives are okay. We hope to see you back fighting up in the top positions again at the next race in Brno. So, Antonio Fuoco, another huge impact there for one of the life cars. Both drivers with unforced errors and taking trips into the barriers. And it's going to be only 1 or 2 points here for the life cars today. Fuoco does have the 1.4 pole position. And I think, Tom, Fuoco does have the fastest lap points at the moment. I think he got that after his last pit stop. So currently 2 points for the life team, but I kind of believe that Andrew Sampson will be wanting it to be 27 points here today.
Yeah, Lopez running a bit wide there at turn 7 there, almost doing what Jack Aitken did a little bit earlier, but he's got away with it. And yeah, I mean, Fuoco, that was a frightening shunt, wasn't it?
That was hugely frightening. He is out of the car now, and we will wait to see whether there is an update on him from the live team. And that puts Will Power into the actual lead of this race. So Will Power is running in second earlier on. I think he still has to come in for one more pit stop, which will put him behind Alex Lynn when he comes in, but then the fresher tyres should work in the Leighton Houses advantage. So Will Power leads. Alex Lynn second. Callum Ilott into third place through all this, driving a bit of an anonymous race since his coming together with Brendan Hartley earlier on, just getting about his business in the knowledge that he will stop Renault from the back of the grid. Adrian Sutil in P4 having dispatched Jose Maria Lopez a few laps ago. Marcus Winkelhock going to make a double points finish for Eurobrun as it stands in P6. And Stevens in 7th ahead of Sergio Tete Camara. Christian Lundgaard in 9th, the sole remaining Polonian. And Jerome D'Ambrosio on course for a point for Andrea Moda as Will Power into the pits for his final pit stop.
So this hands Alex Lynn the race lead. Now, how quick can Will Power get the power down? Now, he wants to get out in front of Callum Ilott, so we need to keep an eye on this, Topher. This is crucial.
So I believe that Will Power will definitely come out in second place behind Alex Lynn and ahead of Callum Ilott. He's now on his way out of the pits. Lynn has already gone through into the lead. Ilott's still in the early stages of the final sector. So I think Power will hold on to second position here, but what gap is he going to have to Alex Lynn in the lead of this race, and can he make up that advantage on the fresher tyre? They're going to be on a similar fuel load now, but Lynn, he's on the one-stop strategy. His tyre is already about 10 laps old. Callum Island now into pits as well, so that promotes Adrian Sutil up into P3. Here is your race leader, Alex Lynn, waiting for the graphic to update so we can see what the gap is between himself and Will Power. We will keep you posted on that as soon as the graphic updates. Currently 8.7, it's now 14.9, so there is your actual gap between Lynn and Power, about 15 seconds that Will Power has to make up within the last 18 laps. It's a tall order, Tom, but on fresher tyres, it is possible.
It is very much possible, and Sutil in third place. This would be a great result for HRT. If they can hold on to this, they are now first and third in the table. Now, as it stands, they could go in front of Life as it stands.
I'm kind of glad to see that Andrew Sampson's having a bit of a sense of humour about his double DNF here today, saying in the YouTube live chat that he hopes that they're doing buy one get one free on medical checks at the hospital. So Marino Sato, as he said earlier on, had to go to the medical centre for some checks. We believe he is absolutely fine, and Fuoco may be going for a checkup as well alongside his Japanese teammate. So it's a bit of a bad day today for the Life team. The speed is there in the car, but not necessarily the life in the car. Both drivers hitting the barriers, very heavy collisions, and they're both out of this race. Now, Adrian Sutil got a little bit of a wiggle going on there through turn 1, but managed to hold on to the HR team. He continues on in P3, 22.2 seconds off the lead of his teammate Alex Lynn at the moment. Now, the gap between Lynn and Power, Tom, has come right down in that last lap, now down to 13.6 from 14.9. That's over a second a lap at the moment. Will Power wants this.
Most certainly will do, as Alex Lynn 13 seconds in front now. Will Power, how quick can Power close in on Lynn here?
It's 13.6 at the moment on lap 37 out of 53. We'll keep an eye on that gap as it continues to come down between the HRT and the Leighton House. Jerome D'Ambrosio I want to talk about quickly here, Tom. P10 at the moment in Andrea Moda, which is the slowest car in the entire league. D'Ambrosio doing a fine job here today up in P10. This is surely putting him in the shop window for Season 3.
Well, I would argue with that too, because I think Bonmatel is the slowest car out of all those in the league. But Jerome D'Ambrosio has done a superlative job, and Christian Lundgaard has done a brilliant job also. He's only pitted once in this race and has got himself in 9th position, so we'll say that he could be on course to score points for Poloni and not McNish. And Lynn's in trouble.
Alex Lynn is slowing down. It looks like he is, and it is a throttle problem for the HRT. That's an absolute disaster for himself and for John Monroe, the boss of HRT team. Alex Lynn looking like he could have picked up a second victory of the season here today. And there goes Will Power through into the lead. He gives a little wave as he goes past. Alex Lynn, what a shame that is for him. And another leader drops out of this race, Tom.
How many more leaders are we going to lose?
Jerome D'Ambrosio. We were just talking him up, saying what a fine job he was doing. It's an electrical issue for the Andrea Moda. 2 retirements in quick succession there for Alex Lynn and Jerome D'Ambrosio. They were teammates at Mahindra Racing for half a season in Formula E last season, and they've now retired together with each other, almost in sympathy. So Will Power, who we're riding aboard with now, into the lead of this race and with a good advantage over Adrian Sutil. Will Power already our championship leader by 13 points over Marino Sato, who won't pick up any points here today. So Will Power looking to extend his advantage. Oh, very nearly there for Jamie Green, but he continues on. He's currently in P12, which will become P11 once he overtakes the stricken HRT of Alex Lynn, which he's going to do very soon. Will Power now on course for 25 points, which would put him onto 138 and put him even further ahead of Reno Sato. Adrian Sissel there in P2, looking to get some stronger points here today, as well as Cam Ilot's running a little bit wide there in P6, but manages to continue on in his LaRousse car. Now this is going to be very crucial for the championship, not just for the drivers, but also for the teams, because Leighton House and HRT, Tom, they both have one driver out of this race, but also Life has both drivers out of this race. So what's that going to do for the prospects of the likes of LaRousse, who currently has Ilot in P6?
It's been an interesting one, hasn't it? And looking at the Eurobronze in 3rd and 4th, this is a massive result for them. If they can get 3rd and 4th, that would be, 27 points for their season. They'd go in front of LaRousse as it stands.
They would indeed. I'm just loading up the constructor standings here. So Eurobronze currently on 124 points, with the LaRousse on 143. So yes, if it finishes like this, Eurobronze would go ahead of LaRousse in the standings. They won't catch up to 3rd place because HRT's on for 18 points at the moment. But David Juntz will be very happy with how his team is doing here today, and that will put him one step closer to potentially getting promotion into League 1 for Season 3. However, we still have about 14 laps left to go here in Estoril. Still plenty of action can come our way. Will Power 12.5 seconds ahead of Adrian Sutil. Jose Maria Lopez in 3rd ahead of Marcus Finkelhock, the Eurobronze running 3rd and 4th. Will Stevenson P5 ahead of Callum Ilott. Sergio Sette Cameron 7th ahead of Lundgaards, who has a little bit of a lock-up there, right on cue. Brendan Harley in 9th, having had his rear wing fall off earlier. And Sergei Sorokin 10th in the Force India. They could do with the points here today, Tom.
Yeah, most certainly Sergei Sorokin on course for a point. He's already scored a point for the Force India team this season, isn't he? In Magny-Cours.
Let me just find that in my notes here. I've got so many notes, it's really difficult to find the right place straight away.
Yeah, you got 9th place finishing Magny-Cours did Sorokin.
Yes, thank you very much. 9th place for Sergei Sorokin in Magny-Cours, 2 points to his name at the moment. Can he make it 3 here today? He's currently on course to do so, as we're on lap 41 out of 53, 12 and a bit laps away from the end of the League 2 Estoril Grand Prix. Will Power 13.6 ahead of Sutil now, and extending his advantage over the HRT, who I imagine his tyres will be getting a little bit knackered at this point. Adrian Sutil on the 1-stop strategy, whereas Will Power's on a 2-stop strategy. Lopez on course for a 6th podium of the season. Lopez, one of the stars of the season so far. He's picked up podiums in Yongam, Chennai, Birmingham, Imola, and Magny-Cours. 5 podiums to his name without a victory so far, and he's on course to pick up a 6th. Surely, Tom, the win has to come from Lopez at some point soon.
You would think so, wouldn't you? And Lopez, who has done he's done a 2-stop in this. Well, no, he's done a 1-stop because he did the undercut on Sutil at first before Sutil got back through on him again. But this is another brilliant drive from Jose Maria Lopez and from Winkelhoff. Could he be our driver of the day, do you reckon?
He's definitely a contender, and there he is right on cue, riding on board now with the German in the Eurobronze, the Swiss-led Eurobronze team by David Juntz. Having a fine race at the moment, and definitely a contender for driver of the day today, as he laps in P4 on course for 12 points. And that would put his total on to 44 points, which would put him around about Alan McNish. You put him above Alan McNish in the championship, actually, and just behind Alex Lynn, who's currently on 46 points and set to score no points after his retirement earlier on. Looking at the graphics, everyone lapped up to Valentino Rossi in P12. Jamie Green, the last of the lead lap runners in the moment, and should we have any more attrition at the front, Tom, Jamie Green could be on course for a debut point here today.
Well, we've still got 12 laps to go. I reckon there'll still be one more retirement in this race.
You know what? I'm not going to argue against that. You know as well as I do, Tom, what can happen within the Grand Prix World Series. Could something maybe befall this man, Will Power? We hope not, and we're not trying to put a commentator's curse on anyone at all. maybe it could happen to Suttil, maybe one of the Euro runs. It can happen to anyone in this. It's why we love it so much. The unpredictability of what can happen in these races. It's never over until that checkered flag falls, and sometimes even after the checkered flag falls, it's still not over. So still a lot to be discussed and a lot of action to be experienced here in the League 2 Estoril Grand Prix. There is Jose Maria Lopez in P3. Sort of all out on his own at the moment. He's 5.7 seconds behind Adrian Suttil at the moment and over 10 seconds ahead of his teammate Winkelhoff. And Lopez, it's been a bit of a theme with him so far this season, Tom. He's just quietly gone about his business. He hasn't really set the world alight. He's just consistently there or thereabouts, putting in the strong performances.
Yeah, and just looking at Winkelhoff, is this Lopez or Winkelhoff? I couldn't quite tell. I think it's Lopez actually. But yeah, I've missed your question there, because I've been so focused on the action that's been going on.
Well, I was just pointing out that Lopez has sort of actually had a bit of a quiet season. He's always just been there to pick up the pieces and pick up the strong finishes when others have fallen by the wayside. He hasn't really done too much to set the world alight. He's just consistently a strong performer.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the way he's performing, I mean, he's failed to finish only 5 times this season, but he's finished every race in the last 4. And looking at the championship standings as it with the live standings, if you want to call it that, Will Power will extend his lead, but it's Adrian Suttil who'll go up to second. He will get 18 points in this race. So he'll move on to 115. Will Power will move on to 138. So Will Power will have a 23-point lead going into the next race at Brno. Lopez would also move up a position into 3rd place. Marino Sarso down to 4th.
And don't forget, Tom, Will Power has only been in this championship from round 4 onwards. He debuted at the Yongam Grand Prix as Jamie Green getting a lap put on him by Will Power, actually, speak of the devil. Will Power came into the championship at the Yongam Grand Prix, which was round 4, finished 3rd on debut, and then 2 races later took his maiden victory at the Chennai Grand Prix. He added to that victory last time out at the Hockenheim Grand Prix and is now leading the championship, having missed the first 3 races. I mean, what a season it's been for Will Power, and what would his championship advantage be like now, Tom, had he been in for those first 3 races?
Answers on a postcard, I mean, that he would have been so dominant, wouldn't he, in that Leighton-house. And I do feel for Alex Verts and Robert Wickett, because I do think they're 2 decent drivers. Will Stevens going on.
Very close to tears there for Will Stevens in the Modena, currently running in P5 at the moment, which would be another solid points finish for the Modena. He's picked up some very consistent points finishes across the course of the season. He had a 2nd place in Adelaide, and then an 8th, a 6th, a 4th, a 4th, a 6th, and an 8th. Those were his points finishes, and adds 10 points to his tally of 66 in this race. But Will Stevens not really challenging for victories anymore since his explosive debut in Taupo, but always there or thereabouts picking up some points, and it's been a very not really strong season for Will Stevens, Tom, but it's definitely been consistent.
Yeah, I mean, Stevens has done well in the Modena, someone who can most definitely be put out there in the driver market in case Paul Twemlow, the team boss of the Modena team, decides to go a different way for his challenge for next year.
Well, the rumour, sorry to cut across you there, Tom, the rumour is that Paul Twemlow will actually not be continuing with the Modena team in Season 3, and if that is the case, if that is confirmed, then Will Stevens and Scott Speed will both become free agents for Season 3, so anyone who's watching and thinking about their driver lineups for Season 3, maybe give some consideration to Will Stevens and Scott Speed, because if Paul Twemlow does indeed depart the team, they will be available.
Well, that's good news. Rossi
pulling off. It's another gearbox issue in this race. I think that's the 4th gearbox issue in this race so far, Tom. Valentino Rossi, yet another retirement out of this one, joining the long list that we've had so far. A list which is now, I think that might be 11 strong in this race. We've had Alexander Rossi, Esteban Gutierrez, Marino Sarto, Ilio Castroneves, Scott Speed, Sam Bird, Alan McNish, Jack Aitken, Antonio Fuoco, Jerome D'Ambrosio, Alex Lynn and Valentino Rossi. So Rossi, just counting that now, is our 12th retirement in this race.
Yeah, and I say one driver who's done well to consider where he ended up on lap 1. Brendan Hartley, now in 8th place.
putting behind that incident earlier on with Callum Ilott and getting on with his business now into P8. Oh, Will Power's out! Will Power becomes another retirement in this race, out of the lead. It's a water leak for the Leighton House drive, and Tom, that's like our third leader falling out of this race. I mean, Monaco 1982, anyone?
Or even Monaco 96, Topher, but yeah, oh, that's heartbreaking. I know they've won races this season, and they aim to try and get promotion today, but it's just not to be. That puts Adrian Suttle in the HRT into the lead and 2 Eurobronze onto the podium.
Adrian Suttle started this race in P7, and he's now in the lead, looking for his third victory of the season. He'll become the first driver in League 2 to win 3 races this season if he goes and gets the job done. But as we've seen, Tom, we've had 3 drivers drop out of the lead on this race, and what's to say there won't be a 4th?
Well, you don't mean Adrian Suttle, do you?
I'm not putting any sort of jinx on anyone at all. I think I already did that to Will Power earlier on. I don't think I should say any more than that.
Yeah, and this promotes Jamie Green into the points.
It does indeed. Jamie Green will be a beneficiary from this and move up into P10. Only his second race in the Grand Prix World Series, and now running in P10 and on for a point, and that is a point that Zach Speed will be very welcoming of. They haven't scored at all heavily this season. They were expected to do well, especially after their performance in the pre-season festival that we had at Watkins Glen. Sam Bird finished second that day, and we thought that Zach Speed might be on for a really good season, but as it is, this will be their first point since the Birmingham Super Prix, when Lucas Di Grassi finished 10th in that race. So can Jamie Green go and get the job done? He's still on the lead lap. It's been a brilliant performance so far from the British DTM ace. To some people, more well known for being the driver who challenged Lewis Hamilton back in the Formula 3 Euro Series days. Jamie Green now getting his chance in the Grand Prix World Series and putting in a good performance today for Mike Smith and the Zach Speed team. But can he get to the end? We have about 7 laps left to go here in the League 2 race. There is Jose Maria Lopez now running in P2. It's going to be another strong podium today for the Argentine should he go the distance, and this will get him right into contention within the championship. So Will Power now not going to get those 25 points, Tom. I'm trying to do the maths here. So if it finishes like this, Adrian Suttle will pick up the 25 points and lead the championship. He will overtake Marino Sato and Will Power. Lopez will get 18 points, which will put him on to 110. So ahead of Sato, but just behind Will Power. Winkelhock will get 15 points, which will move him up to just past Alex Lynn. Of course, this is all hypothetical at the moment, Tom, because it might not finish in the same order as it is at the moment. But as it stands, Adrian Suttle will resume the lead of the championship.
What a change of fortune for the HRT team. With Lynn already leading, then dropped out, and then Power leading for Leighton House, and now Suttle in the lead thanks to Power's reliability woes.
And also for Woko's incident earlier on, he'd just come into pits and a lap later, dropped it onto the curbing and had a heavy hit into the barrier and a rough ride through the gravel trap. I'm sure he is perfectly fine and he will be back for the next race in Brno. Adrian Suttle leads ahead of Lopez and Marcus Winkelhock with about 6 laps left to go here in Estoril. Will Stevens moves up into 4th place ahead of Callum Ilott. Camera and Hartley on for some good points for the Pacific team here today in 6th and 7th. Christian Lundgaard in P8 ahead of Sergei Sorokin and Jamie Green in 10th position.
So Lopez, the gap seems to be stagnating now between Suttle and Lopez. You see what the gap is now. It's 5.8 by the end of sector 2. It is now 5.8. So yeah, Sorokin, locks up there, and he's got Jamie Green all over the back of him, look.
So under pressure here from the Zach Speed of Jamie Green, and can the British driver make a move on the Russian driver? And looks like it's not going to be done here at this corner. Sergei Sorokin looks like he might be a little bit under pressure here, making the mistake there, fighting off Jamie Green. Is Green going to make a move here through into P9? Hopefully we'll stay on board. Okay, no, we don't stay with this one. We move on board with Marcus Winkelhock in the number 2 Euro run, running P3. A great drive here so far from Marcus Winkelhock, and I think I agree with your earlier statement, Tom. I think I might actually put Marcus Winkelhock down as driver of the day.
As you've seen, Christian Lundgaard in 8th place. I think he's moved up today because of Power's retirement. So he's had another fine race as Lundgaard. We want to go back to the battle between Sorokin and Green, though. Hopefully we can do that any second. If not, I would imagine Green will get alongside Sorokin on the start from the straight.
Well, looking at the gap now between those two, it's less than a tenth between them, which might suggest that Green is getting alongside Sergei Sorokin here for P9. There's no change of position between those two yet, so Sorokin may be just holding on to P9 at the moment. We still have a few laps left to go. Just starting lap 50 out of 53. There is your race leader, Adrian Suttel, set to benefit from the retirements of those around him and bring home 25 points here today. Andrew Sampson, the team manager of the Life team, saying that Antonio Fuoco has joined Marino Sato in hospital, and they seem to be in good spirits anyway, Tom, because they're having an argument about who had the biggest accident.
Well, if you were to ask me, I'd probably say, in terms of how wild it was, I'd probably go Fuoco. Fuoco had the more wild accident.
I don't think I'd like to be either of them in that particular situation, to be honest. Both having quite heavy hits into the barrier, but both seemingly perfectly fine. I'm sure they will be back for the next race. Lap 50 out of 53, your race order as we wind down to the end of the League 2 Estoril Grand Prix. Suttel, Lopez, Finkelhock, Stevens, Eilert, Sete Camara, Hartley, Lundgaard, Sorokin and Green on course for a debut point in 10th. He's still behind Sergei Sorokin at the moment, and we now go on board with Sergei Sorokin. We want to be looking back to see where Jamie Green is and if he's going to get alongside the Russian down into turn 1. And Sorokin given the outside line, but it looks like he's held onto it there. So I'm guessing from that movement there by Sorokin that Green was there or thereabouts. But Sorokin, as lots of other drivers have done in this race, finding that grip around the outside and holding on to P9.
Yeah, you can just see Lopez in P2, 5.7 seconds, so maintaining the gap. I can imagine that Suttel will be coming up to maybe a back marker or something. We'll find out soon enough, but I don't think that will change too much, because we already got 3 laps left. As Green goes down the inside of Sorokin into turn 6, and a nice move there from the Englishman.
He gets the job done finally. That move was building up for the last couple of laps there, was Jamie Green on Sergei Sorokin. He moves through into P9. Mike Smith will be very happy to see that move being done by his new driver. Maybe a good advert for Jamie Green moving into season 3. Oh, Hartley gets wide there, nearly doing a Marino Sato. But he has kept his Pacific pointing in the right direction and on course for P7 here. Just bring the car home, Brendan. You don't need to push it that hard. Points are on the table, just get the job done.
Looking at Sete Camara's pace, Topher, he's closing on Eilert still, and he's showed some genuine pace in this one, hasn't he, Sergio?
He has indeed. He's put in a very strong performance, which will please Carter McCollum, the Canadian team principal of the Pacific team. I think he might be a bit too far behind Callum Eilert at this point in the race, as we're on the third to last lap here. With a gap of around about 5 or 6 seconds, it's 5.8 between those two. I think that might be it for Sete Camara's advances through the order. So 6th place, still a strong result for the Brazilian here today. Where is he in the championship? He's currently P27 in the championship with 1 points finish to his name, which was a 7th place finish in Imola. Since then has not picked up any more points, but looks set to add 8 points to his tally here today with a 6th place finish. But even better up front, Eurobrun on for a double podium, which will be very good for them in their fight for promotion, Tom.
Very, very well, and Leighton House won't feel too down about it, because although they could have picked up victory via the power of Casneves, they can still finish promotion in the next round at Brno.
So 13 runners left in this race. Outside of the top 10, we have Oliver Turvey, Gaston Mezzacane, and Mike Conway, with Will Stevens putting a lap there on one of the Reals. I'm not quite sure which one that was. I think it might have been Turvey. They're running in 11th, 12th and 13th at the moment, and if we do have one more retirement, that could be a point for Real here today, which Ed Hunter, he's been very disappointed with how this season has gone for his team, so if he can pick up a point here today, I'm sure that will put a smile on his face.
I couldn't agree with you, Mars. It looks like he almost going to be out of shape heading into the chicane there, but has got away with it as Marcus Finkelhock in 3rd, 14 seconds off the lead. Of course, I think that's his first podium of the season.
Well, for Marcus Finkelhock?
Yeah.
No, he picked up a point in Adelaide earlier in the season.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, when it was only like 5 finishes in that or something like that. But either way, he's on course for another podium this season. And as it stands with where he is in the championship, he was 15th going into the round. He's about to collect 15 more points, which will put him ahead of Alex Lynn into the top 10.
So a good day all around in the Eurobron camp. We are on the final lap here in the League 2 Estoril Grand Prix, and here is your race leader, Adrian Sutil, on course for his third win of the season and the championship lead once again. John Munro will be very pleased to see his driver doing so well this season. He would have liked to have seen Alex Lynn up there as well fighting for the victory, but as it is, he's now set to take victory with Adrian Sutil. It will be his fourth win of the season for John Munro, the third for Adrian Sutil. Alex Lynn had one earlier this season in Magny-Cours. Around the final corner, what a drive this has been, from 7th on the grid to the race victory here today. Adrian Sutil out of the final corner, foot down to the line. Adrian Sutil crosses the line and wins the League 2 Estoril Grand Prix. What a result there for the German. Very, very strong driver. That could be crucial for his championship challenge. Jose Maria Lopez, a 6th podium of the season in second, and Marcus Finkelhock, mine and Tom's driver of the day. P3 and a double podium for Eurobron. What a result there. 4th place for Will Stevens ahead of Callum Ilott. 6th will be Sergio Sette Camara, and Brendan Hartley making it a double points finish for the Pacific team. Lundgaard in 8th, Jamie Green points for him in 9th when he crosses the line, and Sergei Sorokin will pick up the final points in 10th.
What a race, Topher, eh? It was a really interesting one. It was just about survival of the fittest, really. And Sergio Sette Camara crossing over. Oh, there's Brendan Hartley, crossing over the line in 7th place after being at the back earlier on. Christian Lundgaard, 8th for him. I think he's already picked up points this season, hasn't he?
He has indeed. He picked up some points in Magny-Cours where he finished 7th, and he's now added to that with 4 points for 8th place. And Jamie Green, 9th place for him. Mike Smith took the decision to keep him on for another race, and he's paid back that faith. 2 points for himself and for the team. And last across the line, Sergei Sorokin in P10. What a race. And here are your official race results. Adrian Sutil leads home at Eurobron 2-3. A good podium there for all involved. Will Stevens in 4th in the Modena ahead of the sole remaining LaRousse in 5th place. Sergio Sette Camara and Brendan Hartley a double points finish for the Pacific team in 6th and 7th ahead of Christian Lundgaard, Jamie Green and Sergei Sorokin. Good points there for Sax Speed and for Force India. Turvey, Mazzucani and Conway all finishing a lap down, and then the retirees Will Power, Valentino Rossi, Alex Lynn, Jerome D'Ambrosio, Antonio Fuoco, Jack Aitken, Alan McNish, Sam Bird, Scott Speed, Eddie Ocasio-Neves, Marino Sato, Esteban Gutierrez and Alexander Rossi. Your fastest at that point goes to Antonio Fuoco, so indeed 2 points for Fuoco and for the Life team. And Tom, in some ways, you can maybe see that win for Sutil as a little bit lucky, given the retirements for the leaders earlier on, but he was still there to pick up the pieces, and he still got the job done.
Yep, Sutil, his 3rd victory of the season. Absolutely brilliant performance from him that pushes him into the lead of the League 2 driver standings, and it moves HRT closer, not in front, I don't think, of Life, but they're definitely closer to them now, much closer, in fact. And for Leighton House, they'll be very disappointed not to pick up a race victory today, but they can clinch promotion next time out at Brno.
So, a hugely exciting race there in League 2. We still have more action for you, though, ladies and gentlemen. We still have the League 1 race to come in just a few minutes. We're going to take a quick break, but make sure you stay tuned when we come back for the League 1 action.
Ah, what music!
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy. Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It is like being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm going to give you an engine low to the ground, extra big oil pan, cut the wind from underneath you. That'll It'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when you run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it. Those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires? There's nothing I can't do with the race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. Sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it?
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do, it's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem
It's that
is?
you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
And we are back for the League One Estoril Grand Prix here today. We had a fantastic League Two race. Plenty of action, plenty of attrition. And at the end of it, Adrian Sittel took home a third victory of the season and took back the lead of the championship. Tom, what can we expect from the League One race here today?
I think, well, the question is, can Simtek last the distance? Because whilst they may have put their cars on pole again, for the 10th consecutive race, I believe. Are we going to see them come away with a victory this time? Now, they've only picked up 1 win in the last 5, and they've only finished out of a possible 10 finishes with their 2 cars. They've only finished twice.
Well, Scott Woodward sent a bit of a shock through the paddock recently, actually, because we had the latest upgrade window going into this race. And Scott Woodward, he's put all of his money into power so far this season, but then shocked everyone when he actually decided to spend all of his available budget on reliability. And bear in mind the strong finishes that he has had when his cars have finished. He had a good amount of budget to spend, so putting all that into reliability, his car's now actually among the best on the grid on average between power and reliability, so that could prove very beneficial here today.
It most certainly could be, and I'd be interested to see how the others get on as well behind them, because looking at where Bourdais was the star of qualifying, actually, believe it or not, in the Onyx, so I'd love to see him come away with a victory in this one, as they did so in Istanbul.
And Scott Woodward has actually just commented in the YouTube live chat saying, "I'm hoping my large investment into reliability comes good for this race." You know what, Scott? We hope so too. It's great to have you fighting at the front of the Grand Prix World Series, and be good to see your cars finishing races more often than not. But will that be the case today? We will have to see how this race transpires. But before we get into it, just a few parish notes for you. The first of which is a driver change within Tom Ken's Prost team. Now, Tom, you've taken a decision to drop Jaime Alguersuari and bring in Artem Markelov into the team. Talk us through this one.
The reason why I've decided to do this is because Alguersuari, as you well know, was in this seat for Season 1 throughout the whole of last season, and given that the last 4 events of Season 2 are on circuits that we've already done in Season 1, I felt with Alguersuari already being given the chance to race in those events, I decided to put Markelov in for the next 2 rounds at least to see how he gets on, because nobody's fielded him, so I thought, why not give him an opportunity? And given that we are in a fight against relegation, I need someone strong, and that's why I decided to go with Markelov for this occasion.
So could he maybe bring home some points today on debut? I mean, the pace is there for the Prost team. They picked up their first podium of the season with Marco Wittmann last time out in Hockenheim. Can that form be continued today as they look to avoid relegation? Well, looking at the championship standings, let's have a look at the drivers first. So Antonio Felix da Costa leads the championship going into his home Grand Prix here in Estoril. 102 points for the Portuguese Super Aguri driver. 9 ahead of Scott Dixon and Andre Lotterer, who are tied on points. Dixon ahead on countback. It's getting so close, isn't it, Tom? Hulkenberg's there or thereabouts as well, with Fraines only a couple more points behind. I still have no idea who's going to win this championship.
I don't either. It's that close, and when you look at the standings right now, as to Felix da Costa in the lead, you know, that victory moved him ahead, and that was his first victory of the season for da Costa. So he's 9 in front of Scott Dixon and Andre Lotterer, with Hulkenberg up thereabouts. And yeah, I would say it's between 5 drivers, although if Magnussen and Buemi do a really good job today, or Van Dorn even, then any of them could be in contention for the championship for the final few rounds, but they need to do well here.
There will be 3 rounds left after this race, which will be a total of 81 points up for grabs left in the championship. Realistically, though, I'd say as well, Tom, you're probably looking at the top 5 there, from da Costa down to Fraines. But of course, a good result for Buemi, Magnussen, Van Dorn, or maybe even Wehrlein or Andretti could bring them right into contention. It is not over until it's over. Looking at the team standings and the top 10 here, Super Aguri in the lead over Simtek by 28 points. A good gap there for Super Aguri, but that could all change here today should Simtek pick up a strong result. BMS Scuderia Italia up into 3rd after their result last time out, and Arrows and Onyx tied on 137 points, with AGS only 1 point behind on 136. A little bit of a breakaway here at the moment from Super Aguri and Simtek, but for 3rd place, how close do you want it, Tom?
Well, it's Super Aguri's team's championship to lose at the moment by the looks of things, because if you look at the gap between themselves and BMS Scuderia Italia, you know, with Simtek, as we realize, have been having reliability issues so far this season. You know, Super Aguri, I've got to say that they're the favourites. They've got to be the favourites because they've been getting the cars home more often than the others. So it's anyone's game, really.
But with Simtek putting money into their reliability, how will that change the pecking order? It's so intriguing to see what Scott Woodward is doing with his team. Before we get down to the grid, a quick look at the relegation battle with 4 races left to go this season. These 6 teams are the ones who look the most likely out of anyone to be demoted down into League 2 for Season 3. Manor, they're on 59 points. Prost on 44, only 2 ahead of Midland, who are only 3 ahead of 40 Corsi. Now, it's the bottom 3 teams that will go down into League 2 for next season. Mastercard Lola, I think we can safely say, Tom, are all but relegated at this point. But only 12 points covers Prost down to Minardi. How exciting is this going to be?
Well, Minardi have struggled since that podium finish that Christensen got in the 3rd round of the championship in Malaysia. And nothing's gone right for them since. So I think Minardi, in my opinion, are destined for the drop with Mastercard Lola, unless he can get a result like what Prost did last time out in Hockenheim.
So much intrigue, so many battles, and still a lot of action left to come in the Grand Prix World Series. Today it is Estoril, and we're going to head down to the grid for the League 1 race, where Scott Dixon takes yet another pole position. That is his 6th in a row in this championship. Sebastian Bourdais joining him on the front row to make it an all-IndyCar 1-2. Robin Frains in P3 ahead of Pascal Wehrlein with a good qualifying performance from him in P4 in the AGS. Kazuki Nakajima, one of his best qualifying performances there in P5, ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, one of our championship contenders this season. Our championship leader, Antonio Felix da Costa, heads up row 4 with 7th place ahead of Kamui Kobayashi. A better result from him so far this season. Row 5 is made up of Nelson Piquet Jr. and Stoffel Vandoorne in 9th and 10th. Kevin Magnussen in 11th had a Paul de Resta in the Midland. They need to pick up some points if they're going to get themselves out of that relegation battle. Row 7, Roy Nissany and Sebastian Buemi, the 40 Corsi and the BAR there. The other BAR of Nick de Vries is on row 8 ahead of our debutant Artem Markelov, who out-qualifies Marco Wittmann, who will start today's race from P18. Roman Grosjean heads up row 10, ahead of Andre Lotterer. A really poor qualifying performance from him, from the guy who's 3rd in the championship. He will want to move forward as many positions as possible here today. Danny Jürgen-Deyer ahead of Simona Di Silvestro. Then Tom Christensen, Mika Salo, Thiago Montero and Tatiana Calderon round out our grid positions. And Tom, 6 pole positions in a row for this man here, Scott Dixon. Can he get the job done with a victory here today?
Ooh, it's tooth and nail, but I'd like to see how Bourdais gets on here, because he's been quick in qualifying. Can he convert that into a solid race performance? As could Nakajima in 5th.
Roman Frains has put in some very fast starts from his grid positions. Can he maybe snatch the lead from P3 here today? Waiting for the lights to go out here in Estoril. Dixon on the right, Bourdais on the left. And we are off and away for the League 1 Estoril Grand Prix. And it looks like it's actually a very good start from Wehrlein. Going up from P4 into P2 already. Dixon has shot away into the lead. It looks like he will hold on to that lead into the first corner. But Wehrlein having a very good start there. Almost challenging Dixon for the lead. But Wehrlein into P2 and Nakajima up into 3rd place. Bourdais gone the other direction, down from 2nd into 5th there. A bad start for that particular Onyx. Hülkenberg's in 6th ahead of Da Costa, then Vandoorne, Kobayashi and de Resta in the top 10, but Dixon making the most of a good start there as he holds on to the lead ahead of Wehrlein, chopping across the front of the AGS into turn 1 there. There is Dixon, who'll want to build up as much of a gap as he can in this race and go on to take victory if his Simtek can last the distance. We talked about it so many times in this championship. A fast car, but not necessarily a reliable car, as Da Costa down the inside of Hülkenberg into P6 there. Da Costa also fighting for this championship, and that will be a crucial move for him as he moves through the order. There is Robin Frains in the number 9 Super Guri. 4th position for him, having started in P3. He actually lost out a position for once. Frains, one of the best race starters so far this season, losing out this time to Pascal Wehrlein and Kazuki Nakajima. But Dixon, crucially for the championship, continues in the lead of this race.
And for once, it was a clean start from all the drivers, it seems, Topher. No collisions whatsoever on that first lap.
For once.
Yeah, Robin Frains all over the back of Kazuki Nakajima on the start-finish straight as they go. And I think Frains has got this one because he's got his nose in front of the Onyx before they get down to turn 1.
He does indeed, and always Nakajima going to have a look down the inside again. No, he's not. He goes back into it, thinks better of it. Frains back up into 3rd position there. where he started. Pascal Wehrlein in P2. A very good start for him. Oh, Da Costa's gone wide and lost part of his front wing. That's an absolute disaster for our championship leader, who was wanting to continue in the lead of the championship after this race at his home Grand Prix, looking for a strong result, but he's ridden across the curbs in a bad way and has taken off the left side of his front wing, and that is an absolute disaster. He's plummeting down the order already. He's been passed by Hülkenberg, by Van Dorn, and now by Kobayashi. Tom, it's a championship leader. What can we say about that?
Oh, that's a terrible lot there for Da Costa. He's got an awful amount of work to do now, and he's going to have to be picking off these cars one by one. As I think De Resta's losing places actually as well, but he must have a problem because he's just allowed another car go past as he goes past the wounded Super Aguri of Da Costa. Has De Resta got a problem also?
We haven't seen anything on his digital readouts at the moment. He maybe just lost the position to Buemi. He looks okay at the moment. One person at the moment who I imagine is very happy with how this race has transpired. Oh, Pascal Wehrlein! Wehrlein has crashed out of second place. What a disaster for the HS driver. Wehrlein has such a good start early on and is now in the wall. And what's happened here? That's going across the curb. And he had the damage before he hit the barrier. That's riding really awkwardly across the curb there. And that's an absolute disaster for Wehrlein. I was thinking before the replay there might have been a replay of what happened to Marino Sato in the League 2 race, with Wehrlein getting wide across the curbs and his car is effectively disintegrated. That's an absolute disaster for the German.
That's a body blow for Phil Kinchan for the AGS squad as Da Costa comes into the pits for that new nose. At least he's still in the race, unlike Wehrlein.
Well, what I was about to say before that happened, one person who will be rubbing his hands together with Glee at the moment is Scott Woodward, the team principal of the Simtech team. He's got Scott Dixon now 3 seconds in the lead of this race. Van Dorn benefiting from Wehrlein's crash to move up into P5, and his main championship rival, Antonio Felix da Costa, dropping down to the back of the order with a front wing failure. So Scott Dixon will be very happy with how this race is going so far. He's got both of his drivers in the top 5 and one of his main championship rivals down at the back of the grid.
Yeah, I mean that's terrible luck there, Topher. I feel sorry for you at this point, but there's still a long way to go yet. Da Costa can still salvage something from this.
Well, there is still a long way to go, and I hope that Da Costa can move himself up through the order. We saw it in the earlier race in League 2, didn't we, Tom, with Brendan Harley. He picked up some damage on the opening lap. Came home to finish in, what was it, P8, I believe it was in the race, or P7, sorry, he picked up some points there. Sebastian Bourdais down the inside of his teammate Shuki Nakajima. No, Nakajima holds on around the outside. The two Onyx drivers running 3rd and 4th, and Ryan Ferris, he will be happy to see both of his drivers in the top 4 at the moment. But maybe a little bit of squeaky bum time here at the moment for him as he sees his drivers very nearly coming to grief with each other.
Yeah, and just looking at the Onyx here as they go nose to tail. Looking to see if Bourdais can still get back into the slipstream. He may have a go down into turn 6 here. It down the inside it goes, and that should be 3rd place for the Frenchman.
And Bourdais through into 3rd position past Kazuki Nakajima. 2 Onyxes fighting on track. And Bourdais, he picked up his race victory in his first race back in the Grand Prix World Series, back in the Istanbul Grand Prix. He was replaced at the end of Season 1 at Onyx. And Ryan Ferris decided to bring him back in for Istanbul. And Bourdais straight away picking up a race victory that time out, which has propelled him up into 14th in the championship as it stands. So still behind Nakajima, is he? Yeah, just behind Nakajima in the championship. But with that change of position, maybe Bourdais will be going ahead of his Japanese teammate at the end of this race. There is Bourdais. We're looking back at Nakajima, a bit of a gap between those two now. The gap is 0.8 of a second between those two as a graphic update. So Bourdais now chasing after Robin Frames for P2. As Sebastian Buemi looking to get down the inside of the sole remaining AGS of Kevin Magnussen here. No, Magnussen holds on around the outside. There is a lot of grip on that outside line we've seen, Tom. We saw it so many times in the League 2 race. The drivers were able to hold on to the position around the outside line there, effectively the parting line through there. The League 1 teams and drivers will have seen that and learned from that, and Kevin Magnussen doing well to hold on to P9 now.
Doing very well there. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Just seeing Robin Frames is trying to stay in touch with Dixon, but Dixon's pace is just too quick for everyone else. And that could be a fuel thing as well, because we did see some drivers making 2 stops in this race and some were making 1. But depends how you want to play it, isn't it?
Well, Adrian Suttle made a one-stop strategy work in the League 2 race earlier on, but albeit with the aid of some attrition for the likes of Antonio Fuoco, Will Power and Alex Lynn. So Suttle drove well, but was in some ways a little bit lucky to get that win, but he still got the job done on the one-stop strategy, still puts in a stellar performance and takes back the lead of the League 2 Championship with that drive. Running aboard with Sebastian Bourdais, trying to look at the gap between himself and Robin Frames. It's 3.4 the last sector, and coming across the line now, it's 3.6. So Frames actually pulling away from Bourdais at the moment. Bourdais has dispatched his teammate, not making any headway into Frames at the moment. As Buemi trying to get down the inside of Magnussen once again, while behind them Nissani's trying to get past Paul Di Resta as well. He's got the job done. Nissani through his P11. He's putting in a great performance so far. And Tom, this is crucial for relegation because both Forte Corsi and Midland right in the thick of that battle. If they could pick up any points today, that could end up deciding who gets relegated into League 2 at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Nissani, he's closing in rapidly on 10th place Sebastian Buemi. So Nissani having another good race so far. I think he picked up a couple of points last time out in Hockenheim, didn't he, with his brilliant performance as De Vries gets down the inside of De Resta and pushes the Midland further down the order. So De Resta not having a good lap so far.
He's going backwards at the moment, which won't do Michael Gillespie any good. He really wanted to stay into League 1 for next season, but not really getting the speed out of his car at the moment is Paul Di Resta. Or Thiago Monteiro at the moment, his teammate down outside of the top 15 at the moment. And meanwhile, Roy Nissani, one of the drivers in form at the moment, he picked up a 5th place finish in his first race in Chennai and picked up 10 points straight off the bat. And then in the last 2 races, 4th place in Magny-Cours and 9th place in Hockenheim. And now on course for 11th place at the moment, but could maybe challenge Sebastian Buemi and Kevin Magnussen for P9 and P10. But Dave Goddard, he will be willing his driver on, hoping to get into points again as he looks to stay in League 1 into Season 3. A lot of talk at the moment about the promotion and relegation system that we have in the Grand Prix World Series. As we get into crunch time in the Championship, after this race is finished, there will be 3 rounds left to go. It's so important, Tom, and your team right in the thick of it as well. The Prost team running at the moment with Marco Wittmann and Artem Markelov. Not in the top 15 either of them at the moment. I believe they're 17th and 18th last time I saw on a graphic. But with some attrition, right on cue, Marco Wittmann having a bit of a lock-up there, and I think that is Markelov in front of him, the 2 Prosts running line astern. But Tom, if we see the same sort of attrition in this race as we did in the League 2 race, maybe some points could still be on the table.
Possibly. We saw the attrition in the League 2 race earlier, so anything can happen from here on in. I mean, there's still Da Costa, which he'll be coming back through the field very shortly, so keep an eye out on him.
And there is Scott Dixon, your race leader, as he's about to start lap 7 out of 53. And Markelov having a little bit of a lock-up there into the chicane, but he continues on in P17. So lap 8 out of 53 just started. Scott Dixon 5.3 seconds ahead of Robin Frames in second. Sebastian Bourdais 3rd ahead of his Onyx teammate Kazuki Nakajima. Van Dorn in 5th ahead of the Arrows duo of Hulkenberg and Kobayashi. Piquet Jr. on what will be another points finish for himself in 8th. There'll be 5 points finishes from 5 races running in P8 at the moment. Kevin Magnussen just ahead of Buemi in P9 and P10, and just behind them is a battle between Roy Nissani and Nick De Vries. A lot of intrigue going on in this race, Tom.
A lot of intrigue indeed, and we've still got the pit stops to come, so we're interested to see who will be going on to the 2 stop and who's going on the 1 stop. Now, you need at least 30 seconds for a pit stop, so Dixon's doing everything he can to bridge out that margin. We don't know for certain if he is on a 2 stop, but if he is, then this explains why he's putting out such a lead over everyone else.
Well, in terms of horsepower between Dixon and Frames, the Super Aguri and Simtek, they have the exact same number of forces going through their engines, with Super Aguri enjoying a little bit of a better reliability figure as it stands at the moment. But Dixon, I think, arguably the superior driver over Frames. He's definitely got the experience over the Dutchman. Dixon having been around for a very long time, very successful over in IndyCars. Paul Di Resta has a puncture. So maybe some debris going down from Wehrlein's crash earlier on, and Paul Di Resta has become a cropper as a result of that, breaking his front wing as he pulls over to the side of the circuit. That is a bitter blow for the Midland teamer, for Michael Gillespie. They don't really want to be getting retirements right now, with relegation a real threat for the team this season. Di Resta out of the race.
So Di Resta becomes the second retirement of this one. That moves the likes of Andretti, Grosjean, Lotterer, Alguersuari, Markov, and one of the Minardi's up the order. I think Jochen Day is ahead of Christensen so far in this race. But for Michael Gillespie, one car left in the race in Thiago Monteiro, who's is at the back of the field as well, so he's in for a long afternoon.
And confirmed on the graphic there, your 2 retirements, Wehrlein on the second lap and Di Resta just now. Sebastian Bourdais having a little bit of a lock-up there, but able to keep his Onyx points in the right direction, while behind him there's a little bit of a train forming behind Kazuki Nakajima, which is a train formed up of Stoffel Van Dorn, Nico Hulkenberg, Kamui Kobayashi, and not too far off the back of them as well as Nelson Piquet Jr. So Nakajima may be running a little bit heavier on fuel at the moment, because he did get up into second early on in the race with a good start, but now dropping down the order a couple of places down into 4th place. So maybe running a little bit heavier than his rivals around him, but we will wait to see when those drivers first start coming to the pits. I believe, if I remember correctly, the first pit stop from the 2 stoppers in the League 2 race was Marcus Fingelhock, and I think he came in at the end of lap 12 or 13, Tom. So we're not that far away from the 2 stoppers starting to come in, I should imagine.
Now, I think it was around about lap 12 or 13 or something like that when we start to see the 2 stoppers of Thiago Monteiro right over the curves quite heavily. Oh dear.
Very close there to Tiers Monteiro. We've just had 1 minute dropping out of this race. We don't need another. Monteiro down in P20 at the moment. We've had all of this talk of the driver market going around so far in this broadcast, Tom. What do you see of Thiago Monteiro's future in the Grand Prix World Series?
Well, it depends on what Michael chooses to do at first, and then if he decides not to keep him, and he's basically someone out there in the market for anyone to pick up on him. I think considering that it's not, 15 years since he last raced in Formula 1, I reckon there will still be someone out there maybe wanting his services. If not, then perhaps maybe a reserve driver for one of the teams.
I'm fairly sure that Michael Gillespie will want to keep on board Paul Di Resta, who's picked up a few points finishes this season. He picked up a 5th place in Taupo, a 4th place in Fuji, and an 8th place in Kyalami, 3 points finishes and 26 points to his name. Which, Paul Di Resta, he's been a very solid contender this season. He has been running in the top 10 more often than not. But the reliability of that Midland letting him down somewhat, and Di Resta becoming another cropper of the puncture this time in this race. So Di Resta, he's got the speed, but not necessarily the car at the moment. I think Michael Gillespie, he'll want to keep the Scotsman on board if he can, but maybe rethink his upgrade choices when we go into Season 3.
So Dixon in the lead, 7.5 seconds is the gap now, so he's continuing to increase that. Bourdais in 3rd ahead of his teammate convincingly, with Van Dorn in 5th behind the Onyx. So Van Dorn having a good start to this race so far from where he had qualified. He qualified low down actually, did Van Dorn, before the race started. He started only 10th on the grid, a full second off his teammate's pace, but he's putting that anomaly right in the race so far.
Like Scott Dixon, I think clearly has been the driver of the season, so I thought, a little bit of a mistake there for Wittmann, but he carries on in P17 with one of the Minardis right behind him. I think that might be Danny Jorgendayer putting pressure on the German. These two fighting each other in the world of DTM as well. They're 2 DTM rivals, both successful there as well. Now fighting with each other in the Grand Prix World Series for P17 and P18. It is indeed Danny Jorgendayer in the Minardi right behind Marco Wittmann. Are we going to see a change of position between those two in the near future? Now, going back to what I was saying about Scott Dixon, 6 pole positions in the last 6 races, 4 fastest laps in the last 4 races, 3 victories to his name, 1 in Adelaide, 1 in Chennai and 1 at Magny-Cours, but also a lot of retirements. It's been win or bust for the Simtech team this season, and Dixon on course for another win at the moment, but can he last the distance? I've got much more hope for him in this race, given that Scott Woodward's upgraded the reliability of the car finally for this race. Could that decision for Scott Woodward to move to a reliability focus pay dividends?
Possibly, and the next 42 laps will decide it. And the Arrows team doing well so far. Hulkenberg 6th, Kobayashi 7th, and Piquet Jr. still keeping in touch with them in the BMS Scuderia Italia in 8th. I have to say, BMS Scuderia Italia have improved from where they were last year. I mean, Adam Miller was in charge of that squad, wasn't he, Topher? And then Emma Foster was able to take over the thrones and managed to pick up a victory with Andre Lotterer, and felt a bit sorry for Pietro Fittipaldi. You know, he's still a decent driver in there, but you know, I feel that PK Jr. is doing a better job than what he's done, and he's starting to show that in here in Portugal.
Well, Pietro Fittipaldi, he did not score a single point for the first 5 races of the season. Then he took home a 7th place finish at the Chennai Grand Prix. Followed that up with a 3rd place finish in Kyalami. A great podium for him as all Salo locks up a little bit there, coming into the penultimate corner. Pietro Fittipaldi, he picked up a 3rd place in Kyalami and then retired out of the next race at Istanbul, which proved to be his last outing in the Grand Prix World Series, because after the young driver test, Emma Featherstone was so impressed by the speed of Nelson Piquet Jr. I think he finished 2nd or 3rd overall. I'm trying to check my notes here to see where he ended there. He was 2nd behind Louis Delatraz in the Simtech. Emma Featherstone was so impressed by Nelson Piquet Jr. she decided to put him in place of Pietro Fittipaldi, and so far it's paid off. Piquet, 4 points finishes from 4 races, and definitely a strong contender to stay with the team in Season 3 as Buemi down the inside of Kevin Magnussen. That move has been brewing for a long time, and the move is finally done. Magnussen's had a bit of a train forming behind him, and Buemi's now through at the head of that train. Nissani now looking threatening to move up into P10, so Magnussen maybe on a one-stop strategy here with a heavier fuel load, because there's not really a lot of speed coming out of that AGS at the moment.
No, I would expect to see the 2 stoppers beginning to come in now, and just to see. I mean, it's not going to be Magnussen, surely not, because he must be on a 1-stop given the way his race has panned out as it has been. So Roy Nissani behind, who I feel could be on a 1-stop as well, but we'll see as he pulls alongside into the slipstream of the AGS, goes to the inside as they approach turn 1. I think Nissani's probably too far back. Yeah, he is, so he's just slotted him back in behind. As Robin Fines continues on in 2nd place, as De Vries pits in for BAR.
So the first of the 2 stoppers coming in there, Nick De Vries, we just saw him in the background as Nissani was trying to put the move on Kevin Magnussen. Nissani not really having the legs on the straight once he got out of the slipstream. Tatiana Calderon in as well from P23. She's not really on course for any points at the moment, and not necessarily in contention for a seat next season either. She's picked up, I think, 1 points finish this season, which will have been at Sepang. She finished 8th in that race and has 4 points to her name, but no points since then. It's been a really disappointing season for the Mastercard Loader team. 5 points in total, 4 from Calderon and 1 from Simona Di Silvestro, who finished 10th in Chennai. We expected a lot more out of that team, Tom, especially from Di Silvestro. Oh, Van Dorn having a lock up there as he tries to get through past Nakajima. Now under attack from both of the Arrows cars of Nico Hülkenberg and Kamui Kobayashi. And is he going to lose out on P5 now? Hopefully we will stay with this battle. Van Dorn has a lot of speed down straight though, and actually is Kobayashi putting Hülkenberg onto threat. So instead of attacking the Simtek from P5, they're fighting amongst themselves, and Kobayashi does not get the move done, but that was possibly unnecessary there by the Arrows drivers when they want to get P5 from Van Dorn.
Buemi pits in from what was 9th place, I believe, as Magnussen still holds up Nissani. And I think Buemi will still come out in front of De Vries, but he'll be behind Da Costa.
I think you're absolutely spot on there. Da Costa at P21 at the moment, and will hope to get past Buemi as he moves towards the points playing positions if he can get that far. But riding on board with Da Costa's teammate Robin Fines, and now looking at Scott Dixon, who puts a lap on Simona Di Silvestro. Now, I was just about to say about Di Silvestro, Tom, she won the Vancouver Grand Prix, the non-championship round we had at the start of the season. She went and won that race, and we were thinking maybe she was a dark horse for this championship, but her best finish of 10th in Chennai, it really hasn't gone to plan for the Lola team and for Alain Charles. So a little bit of a false dawn there in Vancouver, I think.
And imagine, oh, De Vries, I thought it was going to go into the gravel there, but has got away with it. I was very lucky there for De Vries. He's carried on his way, and I've just seen, I don't know whether Fines will be coming into the pits at the end of this one or Bourdais. Doesn't look as though, so are we going to be seeing any more drivers heading into the pits? It's not at the moment, as far as we know. Robin Fines, but when the camera pans to a driver like that, it just makes me think, not Robin.
Oh, it usually happens, doesn't it? Whenever we pan to a driver, it's usually to see them retire. It's a little bit of a habit we've picked up here in the commentary box for the Grand Prix World Series, expecting drivers to retire. Although we don't want them to retire, we want to see some good, strong racing. But yeah, a little bit of a moment there between ourselves for Robin Fraser, who currently runs in P2, 10.4 seconds behind this man. Scott Dixon in the lead and putting in a very dominant performance so far. Still hoping to get to the end of this race, and with a better reliability package on board, we are expecting him to go the distance. Board 8 there in P3, who's dropped his teammate Kazuki Nakajima by 6 seconds since he made the overtake earlier on in this race. Nakajima still has a train behind him of Stoffel Van Dorn, Nico Hulkenberg and Kamui Kobayashi. That might come to a head in the next few laps as we look forward to the pit stops and who will come out ahead of the other. The pit crews will have a big part to say in that, and these drivers continuing on for another lap so far. We were expecting Dixon to be coming in at some point soon, being on a 2-stop strategy is what we expected him as. Da Costa down the inside of, I think that's Tom Christensen. He's just gone past in the Minardi, so he's moving up through the order. Now, Van Dorn is into the pit, so out of that train of cars behind Nakajima, Van Dorn is the first to pit. And we saw earlier on, Tom, the undercuts quite powerful around the circuit, so Van Dorn in the Simtek will hope to make that advantage count and move past Nakajima into P4.
Yeah, and Van Dorn, he needs to, I don't think he was able to get past Nakajima on track, so if he's going to do it, he needs to do it through the pit stops, as Dixon continues to lead the gap, now 11 seconds to Freins in second. We've seen more and more drivers coming into the pits. I think Andretti was another one that came into the pits, as well as Da Costa pits in for the second time in this one. I think it's doubtful that we're going to be seeing him in the point by the end of this one, but anything can happen from here on in.
So Da Costa in for his second pit stop. He pitted earlier on as a result of damage from riding the curbs a bit too hard. That's now his first scheduled pit stop, and here is the first scheduled pit stop for Scott Dixon. So coming on lap 17, that is a 2-stop strategy for Scott Dixon, so he is indeed running a bit lighter here as Robin Frains continues on. So Frains either maybe going another lap longer or is on the 1-stop strategy here today. But where is Dixon going to emerge in the traffic? He'll need some clear air to get his tyres up to temperature and make the most of that fresh tyre advantage. So keeping an eye on the graphic here, Dixon has gone Bourdais has gone through into second place. As Andretti getting it very wrong there. That corner's catching out a lot of people in this race. We saw it earlier from Mika Salo and from Nick de Vries. And the Manor there becoming another victim. But he continues on at the moment. Outside of the top 15 at the moment is Marco Andretti. Andretti, he's been very inconsistent this season, hasn't he, Tom? He's put in some strong performances here or there, but not really on a consistent basis. He's P10 in the championship as it stands before this race. He had a second place finish in Birmingham and has picked up good points here or there, but sometimes just doesn't quite have the pace where others do.
Well, Andretti's done a better job than what Brendan Hartley was doing at the beginning of the season, and Alex Albon, and so far he seems to be getting the better of Romain Grosjean. So I think Andretti, as a rookie for this year, I think he's done a fairly good job in a Mali car, which just hasn't been as competitive as it was last year.
Well, they're starting to get a few results now. Marco Andretti, as I said, he took P2 in the Birmingham Super Prix earlier this season, followed that up with a 4th at Imola and a 9th at Magny-Cours, while his teammate Alex Albon, at the start of the season, he picked up a few points finishes here and there, but was then replaced a couple of rounds ago by Romain Grosjean, who took an 8th place finish in his first race for Manor at the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. And Grosjean not in the top 15 at the moment, looking at the graphics, so Manor not exactly having the best day at the moment, and they're looking to avoid relegation into League 2 next season. Sam Hall saying that he's feeling a bit more comfortable with his team now they've got some points on the board. But should he get too comfortable too soon, Tom?
Well, we saw what happened last time at Hockenheim, where Wittmann was able to get a second place finish, and that put them out from what was second bottom to second above the relegation zone.
And here is Sebastian Buemi in P16 at the moment, looking to get past Tom Christensen on the fresher rubber and with a more powerful engine. Gets the job done even before the corner. An easy overtake there for Sebastian Buemi, and he's up into P15. Your top 10 at the moment as it stands through the start of the pit stop race. Frains leads ahead of Bourdais and Nakajima. Dixon has split the 2 Arrows cars actually. That's a bit of a fine gap to find actually, Tom, because the 2 Arrows cars were right together on track, and somehow Dixon has gone to split both of them after he's come out of the pits.
I don't think he's split them so far. I think he's just got by Kobayashi.
That's probably a more realistic look at that one there, but Dixon running in P5, still in the net lead of the race, behind Nico Hulkenberg there. Kobayashi in 6th, ahead of Nelson Piquet Jr., Kevin Magnussen in 8th, Lissani in 9th, and Lotterer started this race in P20, and it's now up into 10th. Now, he hasn't come into pits yet, but that is still a great drive there from the German, fighting for the championship this season and wanting to get every point on the board that he can, as Dixon has made his way past Hulkenberg for P4, as Lissani now looking to get past Magnussen. Now, this is interesting here, Tom, because 4040 does have the pace when it's in the slipstream, but once he pulls out of the slipstream, doesn't have the legs on the car to get the job done.
No, he doesn't seem to. He's got good. He's good through the corners, but he's just getting stuck behind Magnussen, who he knows he's got to be going on a one-stop, hasn't he, Magnussen?
I imagine he would be at the moment. With a pace deficit like that, he has to be on a one-stop strategy on a heavier fuel load. Nissani, we haven't seen what his fuel load is yet. Dixon's now up into P3 past Kazuki Nakajima, so Dixon not wasting any time getting through the traffic here and is on course for a victory. We don't want to put the jinx on it. But we've seen time and time again Tom Dixon leading the race and then falling by the wayside later on in the race. We hope that doesn't happen this time. It would be good to see him pick up a race victory. As Robin Fraines is into the pits on lap 21 out of 53. That, to me, Tom, looks like a two-stopper with a longer first stint.
Yeah, I think Fraines, at least he'll be on fresher tyres than Dixon, so it'll be interesting to see how he does on the second stint. As Wittmann goes past what looks like one of the BMS Scuderia tellers. Is that Andre
Lotterer?
Yeah, he's just got past him, so Andre Lotterer, trying to get his tyres into the optimum window as Bourdais leads the race.
But Bourdais leads Piquet Jr., Nico Hulkenberg and Artem Markelov all into pits. Markelov making his way up into P10 before his pit stop there. Looks like he's going on to a two-stop strategy as well. Now, Fraines has come out in 5th place at the moment behind Nakajima and Kobayashi. They have still yet to pit in this race, so Fraines still running a net 2nd place in this race. Looking at the YouTube live chat, Motorsport Mike, also known as Michael Gillespie, the team principal of the Midland team, he's only just joined us and he's asking, has Di Resta pitted or is he out? Well, I'm sorry to report, Michael, he is actually out of this race. Had a bit of a mechanical issue earlier on. Oh, Hulkenberg getting it all wrong there. At the same corner that everyone else has got wrong as well. I think that's the VIP curve that everyone's having issues at. So maybe, I think it's a bit of an off-camber corner, Tom. So maybe it's just catching out a few drivers as they go into the braking zone.
Yeah, I agree. And, we saw it with Brendan Hartley. He did it twice, didn't he? And got away with it. And, yeah, Hulkenberg just going a bit too deep in there. As Nakajima doing a really good job, actually, in the Onyx in 3rd place. As Kobayashi pits his compatriot.
Oh, a lock up there from Nelson Piquet Jr., who's just come out to the pits and still trying to get his tyres up to temperature. A lock up there into the Gancho chicane, but able to continue. And he's got one of the BARs behind him. I think that might be Nick de Vries. I think I just caught a glimpse of a blue helmet there. So Nelson Piquet Jr. running a P10 at the moment. And now here are your lap times. At the moment, Dixon 2 seconds faster than Sebastian Bourdais last time around, and he is absolutely flying at the moment. His closest challenger on that last lap is his teammate, Stoffel Vandoorne, but he's still a 1.5 seconds away from Dixon. The Kiwi really on form at the moment and very clearly the favourite to win this race. So Bourdais in the lead at the moment, but still yet to come in for a pit stop. The 2 BAR drivers, Buemi and Nick de Vries there in 11th and 12th. Tom Butterworth wanting to get some points here today. He's more or less out of the relegation battle now, I think, is the BAR team. He picked up some good points in the middle part of the season. Where is he on my notes here? There he is. So BAR, they picked up a podium with Sebastian Buemi in the opening round of the season in Taupo, 2nd place there. Then Buemi got 3rd place in Istanbul and then won the Imola Grand Prix. So that's taken him out of the relegation battle. I think Tom Butterworth feeling quite safe with that one now. Not really too happy with 11th and 12th at the moment. I imagine he will be wanting to get up into the points as soon as he can in this race. We are approaching halfway in the League One Estoril Grand Prix, lap 23 out of 53. Still a long way to go, still a lot of action to come.
Bourdais' gap over Dixon's 3.4, but Dixon took 2 seconds out of that margin on the last lap, so Dixon's going to be all over the back of him very, very shortly. There's Nakajima continuing to do a fine job, but I don't think he's pitted yet in this race either, so he's looked as though he's going to be on the one-stop strategy. Only 2 drivers out of the race so far. They are Paul Di Resta and Pascal Wehrlein, and nobody else has retired yet. And we're just seeing the Onyx. Is that Sebastian Bourdais who's trying to lap the MasterCard Lola, that looks like that Tatiana Calderon, is that Simona Di Salgestro he's trying to pass?
It's definitely one of them. I couldn't quite remember which number is which in the Lola team. But speaking of the Simtech team, Scott Woodwis, he's very happy with the progress at the moment, saying in the YouTube live chat, the Simtech is that quick in a straight line that it completely negates the slipstream of the arrows. Roman Grosjean pulling over to the side of the circuit here in the manor, so it's a transmission issue. Now, we saw a few gearbox issues in the League 2 race, Tom, and it's now afflicting the League 1 runners, and some carbon confetti flying around there for Grosjean as his front wing clips into the barrier. And Roman Grosjean becomes our third retirement of the race, and I said it earlier, Sam Hall was feeling quite comfortable with where his team is in the standings at the moment. I don't think he should be resting on his laurels just yet, Tom.
No, definitely not yet. I mean, Grosjean's had a troubled season, hasn't he? Despite getting that victory for the Pacific team in Malaysia, and other than that, he hasn't really produced anything glorious wherever he's driven. That promotes Magnussen and Nissany up to 5th and 6th, although they've still yet to come into the pits. They are expected to do a one-stop now, otherwise they'll be pitting in by this point. The gap between Bourdais and Dixon, 1.6 seconds.
So Bourdais on a one-stop strategy, as well as Di Silvestro holding up Scott Dixon there a bit. So Dixon not too happy with what the Swiss driver is doing there, but he is now through and chasing after Bourdais again. I think Dixon won't be worrying too much about that, considering that Bourdais does have to come into the pits here. Bourdais going on to a one-stop strategy here today. 1.6 seconds to gap between those two. But how will that strategy fare later on? Adrian Sissel won with a one-stop strategy in the League 2 race, albeit aided with some attrition. So how will that affect Bourdais and Dixon? Going into the second half of this race, we're riding on board now with Marco Wittmann, with Danny Junkendaya and Artem Markelov right behind them. The two Prost cars running line and stun in this race, as Wittmann actually down the inside of Christensen. We didn't see that Christensen was a part of this battle as well. So it's two Minardis inside of two Prosts there, and Wittmann moving up into P15. Took a second place finish last time out in Hockenheim, and a little bit of a crash down to earth this time for the German, but still putting in some fine overtakes there to get past Tom Christensen up into the top 15, and Wittmann continuing on his way now with Andre Lotterer in sight in P14.
So Dixon, you don't even need the gap now to show where he is in comparison to Bourdais. Bourdais is about to be stuck behind the MasterCard low. Is that Tatiana Calderon who's trying to get past? It looks like it is.
Bourdais going to be caught behind her soon as well, because they're right together on track, and Calderon just a little bit further up the road from these two. There she is. So maybe a little bit of a slipstream battle going on down the start-finish straight here, and hopefully we will stay on board with this battle here. Bourdais will be in the slipstream of Calderon, but Dixon will be in the slipstream of both of them with a power advantage, and Dixon getting ever closer to the back of his fellow IndyCar champion. Doesn't get the move done on this occasion, and Calderon now maybe playing hold up a little bit here, because Bourdais and Dixon now right behind the Colombian, and she's not jumping out of the way. Bourdais now makes the overtake down into the inside, and is Dixon going to follow through here? No, he isn't. Calderon tucks in between them. Dixon not at all happy with what Calderon doing then. He tries to get through into the VIP curve this time around, and he gets the job done. A little bit of a hold up there for both of them. Dixon coming up a little bit worse, but biding his time as Bourdais still to come into the pits in this race.
So the top two are able to get past Calderon now, so they can go tussling amongst themselves, although Bourdais will want to keep Dixon behind for as long as he can. Now, in terms of where would he feed back out when he pits in, well, as it stands, he would go out just in front of Van Dorn. Although Van Dorn, I think, will be on fresher tyres, so Bourdais got to get his skates on there, hasn't he?
He has indeed. He's about 5.3 seconds behind Nelson Piquet Jr. on track at the moment, and we still have some of the one-stoppers yet to come into the pits, as Christensen is in from P19, and he drops out of that battle with teammate Junkendaya and with the Prosts of Marco Wittmann and Artem Markelov. And now Bourdais is into the pits, and where is Bourdais going to come out? It's around about half a minute here. So around about where Magnussen, Nissany and Van Dorn are at the moment, but bear in mind, Magnussen and Van Dorn also still need to pit themselves, and behind him, that looks like the AGS team is ready for a pit stop, which suggests that Magnussen also on his way in.
So that's at least one less car for Bourdais to get by, but he's going to be stuck behind Roy Nissany. I doubt for too long though. It's just whether he'll feed back out in front of Van Dorn or not.
So where is Bourdais going to come out in relation to Nissany? Magnussen has indeed come into the pit, and Nissany, there he goes through into P4. So Nissany still yet to pit in this race. So Bourdais not worrying too much at this moment in time, and Bourdais now on the fresher tyres, and will have that advantage to work with as he chases after the race lead against Scott Dixon, who's on a two-stop strategy here today. There is Robin Fraines down the inside of Kazuki Nakajima and into P2. So as you were at the front from earlier on, Dixon leads, Fraines second, and Nakajima in third. Nissany, we will expect him into the pits either at the end of this lap or the next lap. It's been a fine drive so far from the Israeli for the 40-40 team. Dave Gollard pretty much writing off this season, being in a relegation battle, but with Nissany putting in the performance that he's doing, could that be enough to lift him into the top 10 and out of that battle for relegation? A lot riding on Nissany's P4 at the moment.
I would say with Nissany, when he does pit in, he's going to be right down the order, isn't he? Just look how close the gap is between where Magnussen is in 15th.
So if Nissany pits now, and it's about half a minute, Nakajima's just come into the pits, it'll be between Wittmann and round about Magnussen, and they'll be on the fresher tyres, while everyone else in front of them will have to come in for a two-stop strategy. So some points potentially on offer. And is this a slow Midland here, or is he just getting out of the way of the Simtek there? It looks like he has just got out of the way. And now Nissany is into the pits as well. So we expect him to come out around about Magnussen. The undercut proving to be powerful around this circuit. So Magnussen will probably hold position against Nissany here, but by how much? We're keeping an eye on the graphic there. Nissany down into P10. At the moment, he will undoubtedly also fall behind the likes of the Vries, Andretti and co. He does indeed now. And Bourdais, he has emerged out of the pits in P3, just ahead of Van Dorn. As all Fraines getting past Tom Christensen now. That's a little bit close for comfort for the Dutchman. He won't want to have too many issues like that with the back markers, and he's also got a MasterCard Lola in front of him. So traffic playing a bit of a part at the moment, but they are being, for the most part, Tom, quite well behaved.
Yeah, very well behaved. I mean, we were saying, and Oster Luxar thought he was going to go into the goal for a moment there, but he's kept it going. He stays in front of Marco Wittmann, his compatriot. So Wittmann doing another fine job in this race, even though he's maybe outside the top 10. In terms of, the effort he's putting in, is rather decent.
So Lotra up into P12 from his P20, starting with a really disappointing qualifying for the BMS Scuderia Italia, but up into P12. That's good progress from him, and maybe could pick up some points later on in this race. We're riding on board now with Scott Dixon, your race leader, by 11.9 seconds over Robin Fraines. Sebastian Bourdais into third after his one and only pit stop. Just under 4 seconds had a stop on Van Dorn here, and Bourdais has the tyre advantage over Van Dorn, but that Simtek has the power advantage, so that could end up being a little bit of a tasty battle should Van Dorn close in on the Frenchman later on. Here is Artem Markelov fighting with the Minardi there of, I think that is Daniel Kandaya, who's now getting into a slipstream. He is indeed, and trying to get down the inside into turn one. And Markelov will try and make the use of the grip around the outside if he can, and he holds onto it anyway. Yonkadea can't get the job done down into turn one, and right behind them there looks to be Antonio Felix da Costa, who picked up damage earlier on in this particular corner, actually earlier on in the race, picked up some damage to his front wing and had to come into the pits. Now fighting in P18, I think that is, with these two. So da Costa not really making as much progress as he will have wanted to in this race, and this is a championship leader at his home Grand Prix. It's been an absolute disaster for himself and for that side of the Super Aguri garage, but he's now down the inside of Danny Youkandea, and that is P17, I believe, for the Portuguese driver.
He's still got a long way back to get into the points as da Costa, which is looking at the championship standings as it stands. If it was to remain as it is, Dixon would move back into the lead of the championship standings. I believe, with the fast start and the pole position point and the race win, that would put him on 120 points. He'd be 18 clear of da Costa, and with Fraines potentially finishing second, he would move on to 107 points. So Dixon would have a 13-point lead at the top of the championship with 3 rounds remaining.
A lot riding on this for Scott Dixon, as Simone Di Silvestro getting a little bit in the way there of Kazuki Nakajima, but she eventually gets out of the way and has a lap put on her by the Japanese Onyx driver. And Di Silvestro, is she going to be getting a seat in Season 3? Well, Alan Shull will not have the helm of the MasterCard Lola team into next season. That has already been confirmed, which means at season's end, Di Silvestro is a free agent, and if there are any teams that want to pick up his services, make sure you get your bids in. As Di Silvestro, she is definitely a strong driver. She's got really good credentials behind her. Just does not have the car to work with this season at Lola, only picking up 5 points this season. So I suppose in some ways, Tom, her talent is maybe being a bit wasted at that
team. You would think so too. And who will take over reigns at NASCAR Lola next season?
Oh, a bit of a lock up there for Kazuki Nakajima. Sorry, Tom, to cut across you there. And Nakajima getting it all wrong through the Gancho chicane there. He's now got one of the NASCAR Lolas for company. I think that's Tatiana Calderon right behind him. Actually, no, sorry, no, it'll be Di Silvestro because he just puts a lap on her. But I don't think she'll be challenging for that position again this time around. Nakajima carries on in P8. And, Kobayashi has some sort of problem there. He's missing parts of his front wing there. Kobayashi may be doing the same mistake that Antonio Felix da Costa did earlier on in this race. He didn't quite catch that on the screen there. It looks like we're not getting a replay of it, but it was the same place as da Costa, Tom, so I imagine he's ridden the curb in a very similar way.
I can imagine so too. As Hulkenberg goes past, that's another trip into the pits already for Kobayashi. His season going from bad to worse. As Rines, he'll be thinking about when to pit in for the second time. He did stay out a little bit longer than Dixon, I think, Topher, if my memory serves correctly.
I think it was about 3 or 4 laps longer, I think it was.
Yeah, so I expect Dixon to stop earlier this time, and then Brian's taking over the reins at the front until he pits in once again, which would see Bourdais into the lead. I mean, looking at Bourdais' margin to Dixon, it's only 31 seconds, so even if Bourdais was leading, it wouldn't be for too long, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Dixon would come out around about where Bourdais is, but then have the fresher rubber to work with. Dixon pretty much a full pit stop ahead of Bourdais at this point. So Robin Frames may be the only real contender left to Dixon in this race, and there is Kobayashi into the pits to have his front wing replaced. And as you say, Tom, it's gone from bad to worse this season for Kobayashi. He won the season opening race in Taupo and thought maybe he could mount a title challenge for this season. But since then, a 9th place finish in Chennai, a 2nd place in Imola, and a 10th place in Magny-Cours. He's got 46 points on the board, which at the moment is good enough for P12. Kobayashi had designs on the title this season, but it's not gone to plan for Emma Butterworth and the team. They've got Nico Hulkenberg up there P4 in the championship at the moment with a win of his own plus an additional 3 podiums. But where they are in the race at the moment, Kobayashi's just come into the pits and Hulkenberg now into P5, so that would be 10 points on the board for Hulkenberg and for Emma Butterworth's Arrows team. But maybe not quite as strong as she would have liked, with Kobayashi now dropping out of the points.
So Kobayashi well outside the top 20 now, I'd imagine, or towards the rear of the field anyway. And that promotes Andretti into the points in 10th, so Mano could be on course for a point as it stands. But looking at the gap between De Vries, Andretti, Lotterer, Wittmann, Magnussen, Nissany, Markloff, any one of those 7...
Mika Salo has pulled over to the side of the circuit. That looks mechanical to me on one of the 40 courses. We're going to get a quick replay of it here. And it's another transmission issue today. We've had so many of them in today's event. Looking through the different ones we've had in League 2 race, Rossi, Gutierrez, Bird, and the other Rossi, both Valentino and Alexander, they've all had transmission issues. And then Roman Grosjean earlier on in this race, and now Mika Salo. And what's going on here? The crane's carrying Salo across the circuit. And what are the marshals thinking with that one?
I don't know. It's just playing the mechanics of the game or something. But what I would say is that's Salo's first non-finish since the 4th round of the season in Yongam. So he's done well to be finishing races before and so forth. I thought he had a worse finishing record, but no, he's been finishing races a lot.
Well, Dave Goddard putting a lot of his money into reliability for the 40 Corsi, which did not pay off for Salo in the first 4 races. He retired out of each of those. And then in the 5th race of the season in Fuji, he finally finished a race, and he finished it in the points in P9. But since then, no points for the Finnish driver. He was replaced for 1 round at Kyalami by Luca Badoa, who retired from the race himself and wasn't able to pick up any points either. So Badoa not even adding to his points tally from the real life world of Formula 1. He never scored a point in Formula 1. He famously came close in the 1999 European Grand Prix when he retired out of 4th place late on in the season. Not able to add to it then, but we're now getting some second pit stops coming through. Tom, Piquet Jr. and Stoffel Van Dorn are both into the pits.
So Van Dorn, I reckon he'll be out in front of Kobayashi. He's going to be outside the points and stuff behind traffic.
We'll keep an eye on that. Marco Andretti and Artem Markelov also both coming into the pit lane as well. So Kobayashi moving up through that particular order, and looks like he is behind Van Dorn and Piquet. So Kobayashi really hurt by that front wing damage earlier on in this race. And now in P13 outside of the points. And now Robin Frains into the pits.
So Frain stopping earlier this time than Dixon, so that allows Dixon to keep hold of the lead, and Bourdais' gap to Dixon is still 31.8 seconds, so Dixon managing the gap very well out there.
Doing a very good job is Scott Dixon as Frains into the pits. He will drop behind Sebastian Bourdais as it stands at the moment. He's on a one-stop strategy, so Frains will hope to make it. And Montero has a puncture. It's a second puncture for the Midland team in this race. That is an absolute disaster for Michael Gillespie and his Russian team. Di Resta dropping out earlier on with a puncture. Now Montero befalling the same fate. That is absolute disaster for the team. And this is a team that wants to avoid relegation going into next season. This could be absolutely crucial, Tom.
So as it stands with Nissani in 10th, that would close the gap between Midland and Ford to just 2 points. But there's still some way to go yet in this one with drivers pitting.
Well, Andre Lotter has just come into the pit, as has Marco Wittmann and Sebastian Buemi. And there's Roy Nissany there trying to make a position past Magnussen. So Magnussen used the undercut earlier on in this race to build up a gap of about 2.5 seconds to Nissany when the 40 Corsi driver made his own pit stop. And Nissany right back on the back of the AGS driver now and looking to get through into P6 as Dixon into the pits for his final stop.
I think he'll go in front of Bourdais, to be honest with you, Topher. The gap is 32 seconds, which should be enough for Dixon to stay ahead.
We will keep an eye on that. I think you are absolutely correct, Tom. I think Dixon will hold on to the lead here. Nor Da Costa getting very close to the back there of Markelov, who's just come into the pits for his final pit stop. So Markelov with a tyre advantage there and able to hold off the championship leader for now. And there we go. Scott Dixon out of the pits just in front of Sebastian Bourdais. So Bourdais, his tyres up to temperature but a few laps older. So Dixon, once his tyres are fully up to temperature, he will surely clear off into the distance away from Sebastian Bourdais and go and pick up a third victory of the season. But, Tom, in order to finish first he must finish. Scott Dixon knows that all too well.
Knows that all too well as he laps the Mastercard Lola of Calderon. No problem there. Now will Bourdais get through as easily as what Dixon has done? Won't do it into turn 6, but I'm sure he'll get it done before turn 7 here. So Calderon, does she move out the way as her teammate Di Silvestro locks up, but continues?
Well, a little bit of a correction on myself here, actually. This will be Scott Dixon's 4th win of the season, excuse me on that one. He picks up victories in Adelaide, Chennai and Magny Corley. Will be a 4th win of the season for Dixon if he's able to go the distance here today. I believe that Bourdais is now past the Mastercard Lola of Tatiana Calderon and 1.6 seconds behind Dixon. I don't think Bourdais will be closing in that gap anytime soon. He might need to be looking a bit more behind a Robin Frains, who is 7.7 seconds off the back of Bourdais at the moment, but on much fresher tyres. We will keep an eye on that gap as the last few laps wind down in the League 1 Estoril Grand Prix. Scott Dixon leads, Sebastian Bourdais 2nd, Robin Frains 3rd, Nico Hulkenberg 4th, Nakajima 5th, Kevin Magnussen just ahead of Roy Nissany is still holding off the Israeli for P6 and P7, Van Dorn in 8th, Kobayashi in 9th and Piquet Jr. in 10th, as Hulkenberg now into pits for his final pit stop. Now where is this going to put him into the traffic? He'll probably drop behind at least Magnussen, Nissany and Van Dorn, maybe around about where Buemi is. Didn't quite catch where he was in terms of his time on the graphic, so we'll see where he comes out after his pit stop. He will drop down the order and go onto fresher rubber. He's now behind Van Dorn. And Nissany having another look there at Kevin Magnussen. He really wants to make that move through, but he's also got his mirrors full of Simtech there.
So Nissany in 6th position behind the AGS, and he's going to the end. So Nissany's got a great chance to push 40 out of the drop zone.
Nissany wanting to make every point count here today. running in P6, and he's got a P5 up for grabs right in front of him. But Van Dorn looking very menacing behind him. He's going to have a look down here into the VIP cover. Yes, he is. Van Dorn into P6, and Asani has gone from being the attacker to the attacker. Scott Dixon just briefly flash up there. There we go. Fastest lap for Dixon, which will be an additional point for him in his pursuit of the championship title. But not Roy Nassani losing out on P6 to Stoffel Van Dorn. That will be extra points for Simtek as they chase the Constructors' Championship as well. Scott Woodward, he'll be looking at this with great interest. He knows that there are 2 titles on the line here this season.
So Dixon looking to send the margin over Bourdais now. He's 2 tenths far, no, not 2 tenths far, he's over 2 seconds faster than him on the last lap. So those fresh tyres very much coming into play, and looking at the gap between Bourdais and Frines, 1.6 seconds Frines took out of his gap on the last lap.
Now, Stoffel Van Dorn trying to do what Nissani could not do and get past Kevin Magnussen, and he can't get the job done either. Magnussen driving very defensively and driving very well at the moment in that AGS, holding on to P5 at the moment, and that will be 10 points for the AGS team. They did have Wehrlein in P2 earlier on in this race before he crashed into the wall of the final corner at the end of lap 2. So Kevin Magnussen trying to uphold the AGS honour here today with P5, with Van Dorn looking very menacing. And if he can get through to P5, Van Dorn, that will be an additional 10 points. And here he is, he's going to go down the inside here into VIP cover. Yes, he is. Van Dorn up into P5, and that is now 10 points on offer for Van Dorn, which would bring Simtek's title up to 37 for this race, should they get to the end. Now, looking at the standings here, it would not put them ahead of Super Guri at this moment in time, because Frames, they're running in P3 would be 15 points. That would put Super Guri onto 106 points, and if Simtek bring home 37 points, that would be 201 points, I make that. So very close between those two with 3 rounds to go. It's getting so competitive. We absolutely love it here in the Grand Prix World Series. It's so competitive. A lot of different drivers taking podiums, taking victories. As it stands, we will not have any new winners yesterday. Oh, Kobayashi is off again, and what's happened to the Japanese driver there? There's no mechanical issue by the looks of it. It looks like he's just dropped it into the gravel. And yeah, to me, Tom, it looks like he's gone for a ride across the curb. He's driving a bit backwards now. But to me, just catching the second half of that replay, it looks like he went for a ride across the curbs and dropped the rear end.
Yeah, he's got to be careful how he gets out of that gravel trap, because he could end up on the racing line where drivers will be filtering through. I think he's just waiting for a gap in the traffic before he rejoins. That's another terrible, terrible race there for Kobayashi.
Well, you said it earlier, Tom, it went from bad to worse when he had his front wing failure. It's now gone from worse to even more worse for the Japanese driver. Now well and truly outside of any sort of points paying position there. And is he even going to get out of the gravel trap? He's still got drivers filtering through past him. They do have to wait until there is a gap to get back on second. Oh, there we go. Hitting the tarmac part of the runoff area. I think there might have been a little bit of an edge there or something, which has taken off his front wing. And Kobayashi now out of the League 1 Estoril Grand Prix. It's been a terrible season since Taupo for the Japanese driver.
It really has been, and what will that do for his future at the Arrow squad? Because Emma Bosworth already has been announced that she will be leaving the Arrows team at the end of the season. And of course, you'll be going there, Topher, but you won't have first choice on the drivers.
No, absolutely not. I think Kobayashi is a driver that is definitely under consideration, but given the nature of how the driver market works, there's absolutely no guarantees that they'll get him. There'll be a lot of other team managers who will know that Kamui Kobayashi is a very fast driver, albeit a little bit clumsy this season. So maybe another driver wants to take a bit of a punt on him. As Nico Hulkenberg, right behind Kevin Magnussen by looks of it. So Hulkenberg off screen has got past Roy Nassani and joined in this battle here. And we're running on board with him, number 6. He tried to get past Kevin Magnussen into the first corner, but Magnussen once again holding on to the position there. And the other Arrows now looking to make up the deficit of losing Kobayashi out of this race and pick up some more points.
Magnussen versus Hulkenberg, this should be very interesting.
Any of you who know their rivalry in the real life world of Formula 1 from years past, as Hulkenberg down the inside of Kevin Magnussen there, and that is P6 for the Arrows driver. Magnussen going backwards in this race, and once again now under pressure from Roy Nassani. And how long is it going to take the 40-40 to get through on the AGS if he can indeed go and get the job done?
So should Dixon and Van Dorn get to the end of the race, it'll be the first time that both Simtex have finished since Kyalami.
Really? Has it been that long?
Yeah, Kyalami, yeah.
Wow, Kyalami was, what, round 7, I think it was?
6 rounds ago, yeah.
Wow, that has been a long time for the Simtech team. They've had a lot of retirements this season, but also a lot of victories. Dixon has picked up 3 of his own. 1 in Adelaide, 1 in Chennai, and 1 in Manicourt. And Stoffel Van Dorn has picked up 2, 1 in Yeongam and 1 in Kyalami, as Nisani trying to get down past Manxon again, but not having the legs down the straight to make the move stick. And once again, Manxon holds on here. Nisani will be so frustrated seeing that Van Dorn and Hulkenberg made easy work of the AGS and he can't get the job done himself. And that is the difference in power between the cars, because 40 Corsi is really good around the corners, but just doesn't quite have that oomph down in a straight line to get the job done.
Dixon in the lead at the moment, just watching Da Costa making a move on 13th place man, Marco Andretti. Da Costa, who has made up places since that front wing change at the beginning, but it's been a race to forget for him, hasn't it?
Well, Dixon, he hasn't had the best run of form recently. He went 3 rounds without scoring any points. That was Birmingham, Imola and Manicourt. He then won his first ever Grand Prix World Series victory at the last round at Hockenheim. That was his first point scoring finish since Istanbul, but today on course for 0 points once again. Da Costa, our championship leader, but without those retirements, how could he have done in this championship? He's been always there or thereabouts, picking up podiums, picking up points, and finally picking up a victory last time out at Hockenheim. Although, to be fair, Tom, the same question could be asked about the likes of Scott Dixon. Where would he be in a championship had it not been for his reliability woes?
So we're just watching Roy Nissany trying to make a move on Kevin Magnussen. He doesn't have the straight line speed. He only does when he's in the slipstream with the AGS. So he's going to have to make do with just sitting behind him or passing somewhere else. But this is the battle for second here because Bourdais has got Freins all over the back of him.
So Freins has quietly gone about his business and closed in that gap to Sebastian Bourdais. As Hulkenberg down the inside of Van Dorn there. Now, Van Dorn, does he have a problem because he was a few seconds up the road? And yes, he does. It's an oil leak there. For Stoffel Van Dorn, it's not going to be a double points finish for Simtech here today. Van Dorn was doing so well up there in P5, but an oil leak has put an end to him. He will not be picking up any points in this race, and that is Van Dorn's 4th retirement in a row. The last time he picked up any points was Birmingham, and the car is now on fire. As he needs to get out of the way there. He's gone right into the middle of Magnussen and Nissany there. Nissany giving him a little bit of a fist shake there as he tries to pass.
Really silly from Van Dorn.
This is so silly from Van Dorn. He needs to get out of the way there. He's now holding up Nelson Piquet Jr. And I wonder if the stewards are going to be looking at this, taking a dim view on Stoffel Van Dorn for not getting out of the way there. But if you have a mechanical issue, you are required to stay out of the way of your competitors. And if you stay in the way and cause people to lose time like that, you can have the book thrown at you. So Stoffel Van Dorn, he now pulls over to the side of the circuit, but will there be a steward's inquiry into that? He's out of the race and will score 0 points, but not really a good shade on the Belgian getting in the way like that.
No, definitely not. And Van Dorn, I don't think will get away without any slap on the wrist from the stewards because that was really silly driving from him. And I hope that's not a good omen for the Simtech team. As you can see, Scott Dixon has just put a lap on 15th place man Marco Wittmann.
Well, I think we can say there are definitely some improvements for Simtex. If you cast your mind back to Istanbul, Tom, we had both of the Simtex retiring within the first 10 or 12 laps, and it was a really poor day for the Simtech team. As Robin Freins, we just cut away from that battle to look at Kevin Magnussen locking up with Freins, and we go back on board with him now. Freins is down the inside of Sebastian Bourdais and into second place. On for a second place finish on the podium here is the Dutchman, which will be, I believe, his 4th podium of the season. Another strong drive here for the Super Aguri. But what was I saying about Simtech team? Back in the Istanbul Grand Prix, they had a double DNF within the first 12 laps. Scott Woodward has now taken the decision to put some money into the reliability of the car, and Van Dorn has lasted a lot longer in this race than he has done in previous races, so I think it's fair to say, Tom, that the progression is there, and but maybe some worries now on the pit wall for Scott Dixon.
I mean, they've just got to hope that Dixon. He's got to hope that Dixon makes it to the end now. They cannot afford to be dropping points in their quest to fight with Super Aguri, because if Dixon goes out, I think that's Simtech's chances of the team championship over and done with.
Well, we will have 3 races left to go after the conclusion of the Estoril Grand Prix. And it's so close, Tom. We keep saying it time and time again. It's so exciting because it's so competitive. And going into this race, There's 27 points between Super Aguri and Simtek. At the moment, they're running first and second with Dixon in the lead and Robin Frames in second, which is a swing of 7 points. Actually, make that 9 points with Scott Dixon having pole position and fastest lap, so a 9-point swing would mean that Simtek, if it finishes like this, would then only be 18 points behind Super Aguri in the standings, and with 3 rounds to go, that's doable.
It is most certainly doable. Hulkenberg in 5th ahead of Magnussen. Nissany now in 7th place, thanks to Van Dorn's retirement. As it stands, that would move 40 out of the relegation zone, ahead of Midland.
So Nissany set to pick up 6 points from a 7th place finish should it end like this. That will put 40 Corsi onto 45 points. Midland set to get 0 points, and they will move down into P11. It also moved them ahead of Prost, currently not on course to score any points here, so 40 Corsi would move up into 9th. Prost would be on the bubble, and Midland would be down into the relegation zone. Midland, they need a strong result. They haven't really got too much to write home about recently. Their last points finish was in Imola, but before that, it was Kyalami. And they started off the season fairly strongly, especially with Paul di Resta picking up some points. We got a bit of battle going on here with Scott Dixon trying to put a lap on his championship rival. We didn't think we'd see this race, Tom. And Tony Felix da Costa on home soil, leading the championship, about to be lapped by his closest contender.
Well, I wonder what da Costa will be thinking at this point as Dixon puts a lap on him with 8 laps remaining. Gap is 12.7 seconds at the end of the last lap. Dixon just needs to bring the car home. He doesn't need to be firing in from all cylinders to put in any more fastest laps at this point. As you can see, Sebastian Bourdais 2.5 seconds behind Robin Fines. Nakajima not too far behind either. You see Hulkenberg, I think he's just putting a lap on the MasterCard Lola. Can't tell which one it is. But you can see Magnussen doing the same as what his teammate Pascal Wehrlein did on lap 2. Has got away with it.
Very much got away with that one there. Looked like he might have been spat off into the wall, much in the same way as Pascal Wehrlein was, and also Marino Sato in the League 2 race. Happy to report that both Marino Sato and Antonio Fuoco are both okay after their respective crashes earlier on. 2 very heavy impacts. Luckily, we haven't seen any crash at the same velocity in this race. We had Wehrlein crashing out on lap 2. It's in a fairly, a comparatively tame accident, I think it was. It was a bit of a wild ride across the curves there, and then came to rest up against the barrier of Wehrlein, only having his pride hurt in that race, crashing out all on his own from 2nd place. With only a handful of laps left to go here in this race, we're on lap 47 out of 53. Scott Dixon, 11.6 seconds ahead of this man here, Robin Frames. Sebastian Bourdais in 3rd place. And on course what will be his 2nd podium this season. Nakajima looking to give Onyx a good haul of points with 4th place behind his teammate Sebastian Bourdais. Artem Markelov down the inside of Marco Andretti there. So Markelov is feeling racy on his debut here and is actually ahead of Marco Wittmann at the moment. So Markelov up into P13, putting in a very strong performance, Tom. These are your drivers. You must be thrilled to see Markelov putting in a performance like that.
He's just overtaken Marco Andretti as well, so I wonder if Andretti's got a problem here, because he's got the other Prost of Wittmann all over the back of him now, and yeah, I think Wittmann could be in front of the Manor anytime soon, unless Andretti can find his speed again.
So within the top 10, Hulkenberg is 5th, Magnussen 6th, ahead of Nissany. Still ahead of Nissany and still less than a second between those two. Nissany just doesn't have that oomph needed to get the job done, as Andre Lotterer he's trying to unlap himself actually on Scott Dixon, I think. Looking down the inside of the Simtek there, he's behind Nick de Vries in terms of positions. So yeah, that's Lotterer having a look down the inside of Dixon to potentially unlap himself. And Dixon won't really like that too much now. We're riding on board with Nelson Piquet Jr. right behind this battle between Kevin Magnussen and Roy Nissany. And how annoying would it be for Nissany, Tom, if Piquet was able to get past him and then make light work of Magnussen, as Hulkenberg and Van Dorn were able to do earlier.
So just looking at this 3-car battle for 6th place, Kevin Magnussen in front of Roy Nissany and Nelson Piquet Jr. 7 drivers have retired from this one. Remember, only 13 have got to the end of the League 2 race. 19 are on course to finish this one. There's still time for it to change. I think all the drivers pretty much will be classified as finishers, even though they don't get to the checkered flag. you know, Nissani doing what he's done previously with Magnussen and just get alongside, almost. I think he's just staying in touch with him on this one and just make sure he stays in front of PK Jr. as Dixon, rounding the last turn, he's got 5 more laps to get through here.
So at the end of the 47th lap, that is now 90% race distance, and anyone who completes that 47th lap will be classified for points here today, should they get to the end of the race. And it's not just classification for points, it's classification for prize money. Even if you finish outside of the top 10, if you get a classified finish, you still get some extra prize money towards your budget, which some of the team principals will really need to make use of, as Magnussen's made a mistake there. Now, is he going to be under threat once again from Nissani and from Nelson Piquet Jr. behind him? Nissani not getting alongside at this particular instance. He hasn't made the most of that opportunity, but Magnussen now feeling the pressure of having not one, but 2 drivers right behind him, and this is going to be a tremendous battle all the way to the end of the race. Nissani's been trying for so many laps to get past Kevin Magnussen here and just can't quite get that last bit of power needed on the straights to get the job done down into turn 1, and Piquet Jr. looking very menacing here, just waiting for these 2 to come to blow so he can pounce and move through into P6.
So De Costa's got in front of Lotter as well into 11th, and the next driver ahead of him is De Vries, who's just been lapped by the leader Dixon, so De Costa's got enough time, but not much time to make a move. As Nissani, we thought he got alongside there Magnussen, but has to wait back in again.
It's just not happening for the 40 Corsi at the moment. He just doesn't quite have the last legs that he needs to get through, and he's getting very frustrated behind the Dane at the moment. P7 would still be a good result there for the 40 Corsi team. It would be 6 points, which would take them above Midland and above Prost in the standings, as we run at the moment with both Midlands out and both Prost drivers outside of the top 10. Markelov in P13 and Wittmann in P14. De Costa in 11th place, so he's put in a fairly strong drive, has De Costa, to get himself back up from last into P11, but might just miss out on points here. We're not sure how far he is behind Nick De Vries, but not a good day at the office for De Costa, especially with this man here, Scott Dixon, on course to take a full set of 27 points here today.
Providing he gets to the end of the race, of course.
Well, yes.
Well, Dixon is, he's been dominant throughout this one, hasn't he? Not really been involved in too many shenanigans, and he's very much on course to take victory here. Wants to go back to the battle between Magnussen, Nissani and Piquet Jr. as we look at Robin Fines looking to lap the manner of Marco Andretti. It's been a race to forget really for the Manor team, hasn't it?
It has indeed. Nothing to write home about for them, as Nissani having another look there at Magnussen, and once again having the door shut in his face by the AGS driver. I think Nissani might need to change his tactic here, if he can, but he can only really seem to get close enough down that main straights when he's got a good amount of slipstream to work with. So Nissani not able to get through into P6 and getting very frustrated there in that yellow car. Here is Robin Frames in P2, 11.9 seconds off the lead at the moment, and he'll be very happy with P2 as he looks to get himself into contention in the championship. And Danny Junkendaya in the Minardi there, having a bit of a crossed up moment there through the Gancho chicane. Running outside of the top 15 at the moment is Junkendaya. Now he is a driver who will go... You think he's in trouble? De Vries is in trouble. De Vries dropping down the order there. Thank you, Tom. I hadn't seen that. I was just trying to look up Junkendaya's results this season, but De Vries, and there he is. He's on the side of the circuit, and it's his retirement for the Dutchman. His 4th of the season. He's out of the race. That puts De Costa up into P10 and on course for 1 championship point. That could be a point that will prove crucial in the championship fight between himself and Scott Dixon. Now, Junkendaya, as I was about to say, in 16th place at the moment, which now becomes 15th place with De Vries falling down the order. He is a driver who will be on the driver market for next season, because T. Potts is not continuing with the Minardi team in season 3, so the team is up for grabs and the drivers will be up for grabs, both Danny Junkendaya and Tom Christensen. And Christensen could be a bit of a good choice for someone actually, because he hasn't really consistently performed, but when he's been on it, he got a P2 on merit back in Sepang, Tom. So Christensen maybe not quite yet done with the Grand Prix World Series.
No, I wouldn't say so either. And you know, Christensen, he's had that podium, didn't he, earlier in the season? And I think Junkendaya has put himself in the market most certainly for a lot of teams that will want him in their car. I think Minardi are all but down, if I'm honest with you, Topher, because if you look at their record in the last, how many races are we talking? In the last well, 10 races, including this one. They've only finished in the points, I think, twice. Only 2 points in the last 10 races.
Yeah, they had a 10th place finish in Kyalami and a 10th place finish in Birmingham. That has been it since Sepang, when Tom Christensen took 2nd place. And Jos Verstappen, who was driving for the team at the time, took 6th place. It was a double points finish for Minardi. And we were thinking maybe this is the start of a resurgence for the Italian team. But as it turns out, it was actually a bit of a false dawn, and Minardi now fighting relegation and looking likely to drop down into League 2 for Season 3. Nissany not close enough to Magnussen to mount an attack this time after getting wide onto the curb in the final corner there. So Magnussen breathing a little bit easier on this particular lap as Nissany drops a bit further down, but he will wind up again for another attack. Can Nissany get this job done before the end of the race? You just feel, Tom, that there is an overtake coming sooner rather than later, but it would be a great race for Magnussen if he's able to hold him off for that long.
Absolutely. As Dixon starts his final lap, no problem for him. He just needs to get through the last, how many miles there are, it'll be less than 3, I would imagine, by this point. But it's been a superlative performance from Dixon. He'll be very, very relieved to get a result like this, given his run of misfortune this season.
And not just him, it'll also be Scott Woodwis as well, who'll be very happy with this performance by Scott Dixon, who has had 4 retirements in the last 5 races, and they were broken up by a victory at the Magny-Cours Grand Prix. He's now about to take his 4th victory of the season and propel himself into the lead of the championship. He's only got a handful of corners left to negotiate for the Kiwi, but it has been a dominant performance here. He took pole position, he's got the fastest lap, he's led most of the Grand Prix, and he's now just 1 corner away from glory here in Estoril. It will put him into the lead of the championship, and it will be a very welcome sight for Scott Woodwis and the Simtek team out to the final corner, and he's gone and done it. Scott Dixon wins the League 1 Estoril Grand Prix, a dominant performance from the Kiwi, ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, who will come home in P10 and pick up 1 championship point. How crucial could that 1 point be? Andre Lotterer, another title challenger, not scoring today, and there is Robin Fraines in P2. That puts him up into the fight as well, into 2nd place behind Scott Dixon. 3rd place will be Sebastian Bourdais, and Nakajima completes a good day for the Onyx team, 3rd and 4th. And Roy Nissany's out! What has happened here? Nissany is off the track and is being craned away. Now, is that a collision maybe with Magnussen, or has he had a problem? We're not quite sure what has happened there, but Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, Antonio Felix da Costa has already crossed the line, and which means Nissany will keep P9 despite the fact he hasn't reached the end.
Yeah, that's a real relief there for Nissany.
Oh, what's happened to Fraines here? Sorry.
He's just locked up into turn 4 there.
So even on the lap of honour, that corner is catching a few drivers out. Fraines going straight on there. I thought I saw a driver go wide in the background. I wasn't sure, but Fraines hasn't indeed gone off. He's continuing on, but has already finished in P2, so that's fine. But Nissany showing out on the graphic, but because da Costa has already crossed the line and lap down, Nissany still picks up 2 points.
Which means that Midland, according to my calculations, are still above the relegation zone, so 40 still have work to do.
Well, here is your official result. Dixon wins ahead of Fraines and Bourdais. Nakajima making it 2 Onyxes in the top 4. Nico Hulkenberg, 10 points for the Arrows team there. And Kevin Magnussen in 6th place ahead of Piquet Jr. and Sebastian Buemi. Roy Nissany retiring on a last lap. We're not really sure why for him. And da Costa recovering to P10 at 1 point there. Andre Lotterer missing out in P11. And then Artem Markelov out-dueling Marco Wittmann in the race to finish P12. Marco Andretti, P14 ahead of Danny Juncadella and Tom Christensen. And Simona Di Silvestro and Tatiana Calderon, the 2 Lolas, finishing 17th and 18th. The retirements, Nick de Vries still classified there 4 laps from the end. Then Van Dorn, Kobayashi, Montero, Salo, Grosjean, Di Resta and Wehrlein all out. And the fastest lap of the race, of course, it's Scott Dixon. It's a full number of points for Dixon, 27 for him, and that is absolutely crucial in the championship. Tom Dixon now on 120 points. Fraines, his nearest rival, on 107, and then da Costa on 103 and Hulkenberg on 101. What a race that was, and what a dominant performance by Scott Dixon today. Yeah, Dixon did everything he needed to have done. He's back in the lead of the championship, and Simtek closing a little bit on Super Aguri. The gap is 20 points going into the last 3 races of the season.
what can the rest do? I mean, Onyx doing a very good job. They are up to third now, I think, in the team standings. They've still got a fair chance with the way Bourdais and Nakajima have been scoring, but they need to carry that form into the remaining rounds if they want to snatch it away from Super Aguri and Simtek.
So, with the amount of points remaining for the constructors, 135 points still up for grabs, which means that mathematically it can still be Super Aguri, Simtek, Onyx, Arrows, BMS Scuderia Italia, AGS and BAR. The remaining teams officially out of the chase for the championship. And meanwhile, in the drivers' table, there's 81 points still up for grabs, which is everyone down to Takuma Sato in P14, who's not racing anymore. So technically that is Kamui Kobayashi in P13, who can still win this championship with 3 rounds to go. And the top 13 in the championship still mathematically able to win the championship, Tom. This is how competitive this championship is, and it's why we love it so much.
We love it so much, and I can see it going right way to the last lap even at Laguna Seca. And Brno next, a traditional sports car circuit for some that have raced there in real life, but who will come away with victory there in both Leagues 2 and League 1. Can Leighton House finally seal promotion?
There is a lot to play for in the last 3 rounds of the championship. 6 races left to go. 2 in Brno, 2 in Buenos Aires, and 2 in Laguna Seca. We're getting close to the end of the season, and all 4 championships still very much up for grabs. Make sure you stick around with us to the end of the season because it is going to get spicy. Next time out, the Brno Grand Prix around the track within the Czech Republic. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic event there. Make sure you tune in next time. I'm Topher Smith, alongside me Tom Cairns. See you next week.